Play-by-play for tonight, returning to the call, and I'm glad to have Brian Hawley back alongside me. Made his debut on Sunday against the Kitchener Panthers, and Brian, you were a good luck charm in that first game, so we'll see if we can keep that streak going as we head into this game with the Toronto Maple Leafs making their first baseball action of the week. They take the trip down and getting here very last minute, as many of us did. The commute with these earlier start times, we'll see how that goes the rest of the year, but they're coming off a week with no baseball. They had their game postponed against Kitchener on Wednesday, and today they take us on Deaf Blind Awareness Night. Well, head to you, Brian. Both teams looking good in the last couple games, but a bit of a stumble here for Toronto since we played them, whereas Brantford, we're thriving right now.
Well, right now it's a good time to be a Brantford Red Sox fan, and they've won 2 straight for the first time in a little over a year, if I recall correctly, and hopefully they want to get a 3rd win tonight, and they are set up to do so with Nikolai Arbach throwing for them tonight. The batting lineup looks really good right now, and the thing that's really important about this lineup, it's not just about the top 4 or 5 guys that are in the lineup. Paulus is hitting well, Takioka's hitting well, Bateman, Ortega, even Watts showing some power, but they're also getting contributions from the bottom of the order as well. Savage got 3 hits on Saturday in Guelph, and then Torreson got 4 hits, including a home run, just a triple short of the cycle on Sunday. And when you're getting that kind of depth, combine it with the good pitching they've been getting from Irvine and from Armitage, that's a recipe for success. And if they can continue to play good defense like they've been doing the last couple of games, they're going to be a real handful to Toronto. In fairness, they probably should have beaten Toronto last time they played them, except for a little hiccup in the 9th inning there. They had an 8-6 lead coming into the 9th inning, weren't able to hold on to it. But the way they're playing baseball right now looks really good for Brantford.
Well, let's
Absolutely. Number 4, Marcus Connect, an outfielder for Toronto. He's a Toronto native. He was a Toronto Blue Jays draft pick. He's had 2 really good games against Brantford, 3 for 8, 4 RBIs, a couple of walks, including a home run. For the season, he's got 6 home runs and 19 RBIs. A really good-looking ball player, strong arm. Really, you can just see him out there. He's a big dude. He's got a whole lot of power, and he's a guy that they're going to have to tap dance around to make sure they don't let him beat them tonight.
And you talked a little bit pregame about how important right balls are going to carry to right field. We saw that in batting practice. His defensive upside will have to be there as well against this Brantford lineup that's been finding their power the last couple games. I want to talk a little bit about our starting pitcher for tonight. He's my player to watch, and I think the reason for that is so much about, we've highlighted it all season, Brian, but the importance of these Brantford starters and the way that they're really able to carry into games, because so many great early offensive nights have gone the other way when the bullpen comes in. Arbach from South Dakota, he came over earlier this season. We'll show you very quickly the starting pitcher matchup before we head into your first batter, but 3.47 ERA for him this season, one of the best, top 10 among qualified pitchers. He's looked exceptional. And tonight he starts off against Ryan Dos Santos, the left fielder, is going to be leading off tonight for Toronto.
And one thing that Armitage did really well on Sunday, as well as Irvine on Saturday, they got ahead. That is my basic mantra to all pitchers.
As that first pitch going to go low in the dirt, you see that wide release. We'll talk about
yeah, it's a funky delivery. He's got a 3/4, not quite a sidearm, a 3/4 delivery there. He's got a lot of action. The good news is everything that goes right or left looks the same coming out of his hand, and there's a slider right there as a good example.
Location was in their first pitch, his second, even 1-1 count. And he's a bit of a fireballer. He'll throw 91, 92 on a good day, and the only question is potentially pitch mix. How will hitters receive him a couple times through the order? That one low, same spot, really trying to pick that bottom corner. Now 2-1 to Dos Santos.
He's got a real live arm. Nothing's really straight with him either. He turns it over and gets a nice hard slider that's thrown into low 80s, and then he throws that sort of line where it comes in off the plate and has, because he throws it so hard, it's got a late break to it, and so it's really tough to lay off if it's on the outside, and it's really tough to commit to if it's on the inside.
We'll talk more about this Brantford defense, but more or less the same lineup from Sunday. Here's the 2-2. That one well swung on, but missed. Strike 1 for Nikolai Arbach. Starting off hot, Dos Santos down on 4 pitches.
And that's the one thing about this odd delivery and release for Arbach is that, generally speaking, through the first time through the order, you have a real advantage because the batters just don't see that very often. We'll see as we get around to the second and hopefully even into the third time around the order. But the first time, if you can throw strikes consistently, keep it to the black, stay away from the meat of the order, because Castaldo and Connect are going to come up, and they are a real handful. So you want to get the guys ahead of them.
First pitch to Javier just finds the edge of the plate. That'll be 0-1, and Javier, don't let your eyes deceive you. He's hitting 441 on the year in a huge sample size as well. He has been exceptional.
Yeah, leading the league in batting average here. He's just got a great swing. He's got good patience at the plate. The bat stays in the hitting zone a very long time, and so I've been looking forward to seeing this guy. I've seen highlights of him. I've seen him on the stream. This is my first chance I've had an opportunity to see him live.
He's playing third today. Not much pop for him on the season relative to his hits, but we'll see what he does here. The 1-1, now the 1-2. That one just finds the bottom of the zone. Good placement here for Nikolai Arbach thus far.
Yeah, and that's a great start there. That's that sinker ball that's really tough to get underneath to get the ball in the air, and that's going to be a real important pitch for him moving forward.
That one chopped over towards the shortstop area. Schmarter, his first play of the day, and it's a success. 1 for 1 at the shortstop position, just as he's been most of the year. Schmarter's looked great, and he gets a first chance to test the glove out there.
It's been so important for Schmarber to give them good defense, too. He struggled a little bit at the plate, and we'll talk about that later on as we get through the order. But base for the easy out. And like I said, it's so important to get the first two guys out in this lineup because Castaldo and Connect, they are deadly.
Well, we had a little bit of rain here at Arnold Anderson Stadium about a half hour ago. It's held off, and the great fan support here at the Brantford ballpark is staying in droves. First pitch comes in.
It's that sinker. It's a really tough pitch to hit.
Arbach, he's going to get that one right down the middle, and Castaldo doesn't even take a chance at it. 0-2 now, really pounding the zone here in the first inning.
That's that nice tight slider there. He got it in on Castaldo. Castaldo likes to extend his arms. He's a big, strong guy, as you can see on the screen there. And so when you get him, bust him in, don't let him extend, because otherwise he can hit one that you're going to need a stewardess to.
That one, strikeout. He says the home plate umpire is going to give it to him. Just barely went around, and just like that, Arbach, a ground out and a pair of strikeouts opens up his game. And if you're a Brantford Red Sox fan, we've talked all season about the importance of starting off hot against these dangerous top of the orders. Arbach doing a textbook job right there.
Absolutely, yeah, and it helps when you get a call on the outside corner there. Shockingly, the batter on a called third strike didn't like the call. We've never seen that before.
Incredible. I mean.
So, but Castaldo's been around the league a long time, and he's a good hitter. He's a really good hitter. But that is a late breaking slider, and it is really tough to commit to when he gets it off of the plate and then backdoors it, shall we say, to the left-handed hitter. Makes it a real tough pitch.
All right, well, let's take a look at your Brantford offensive lineup for tonight and see what we're working with here. As I alluded to it earlier, more or less what we saw on Sunday against the Panthers. And don't fix what isn't broken. I mean, they have just been incredible in terms of the last couple games. Really seeing some upside with swinging the bat and aiming for the deep field. Paolo's going to lead us off today. Takioka, Bateman, the end of your top three, just as it's been more or less the last 5 or 6 games. Ortega comes back at DH today. Cassidy Watt will once again get the start at catcher, hitting 5 in that big spot. And we talked all season about his upside for power. His RBI to hit ratio looks great. He's just got to be recording those hits, and we'll see if he can today. Torreson, who almost hit for the cycle on Sunday, he's back in the 6th spot. Savage has been dangerous through 3 games, hitting .556. Brody Black, Max Schmarter, those are the guys you kind of alluded to. Great defensive upside. It will be needed today. They haven't quite had it with the bat. They're going to be the question. How many of those guys that get on base early in the lineup will still be there for Brody and Max later?
Well, and I like what the Brantford management have done. They've moved up guys that have had big days. Savage had the big day on Saturday. They moved him from the 9-hole up to the 7-hole. And then Torreson in the 8-hole had a big day on Sunday, 4 hits, as you mentioned. And they moved him up to the 6-hole. So if they can keep hitting, that extends that lineup that I alluded to earlier in the broadcast. And it'll be important for them because they're facing a tough lefty in Alvarado. Throws hard. He's got a good slider. Don't be fooled by the high ERA. It's got a over 6 ERA, but for him, it's early on in the season, and he tends to get tougher not only as the game goes on, but as the season goes on as well.
Yeah, not a huge sample size here for Alvarado heading into tonight. He's a guy that, you're right, the 6.75 kind of sells him short. We'll see what he's got. But first of all, we want to introduce our defense as Paulo's heads up here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We got Shaw out there in center field. Dos Santos can connect on the corners. The infield's going to be Castaldo at first, Ross at second, Moreno is at shortstop, and John Javier, one of the best in the league offensively. He'll be at third tonight. And we got Mr. Mara catching behind the plate tonight. That is Justin Mara, one of 2 Maras on the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup this season.
Yeah, Justin Morrow is a horse back there behind the plate. Anybody who was watching the broadcast on Father's Day, I was talking endlessly, it seems, about Junior Ibarra, the Kitchener Panthers. This is another guy here. We played them a few times a couple of years ago, and he all but shut down our running game. Justin Morrow played all the way up to AA baseball. Just a really, really great player in this league and has been for some time.
Two good sliders to open up the ball game for Alvarado. One a looking strike and one a swinging, but Paolo's down now 0-2.
One advantage that Alvarado has here at the top of the order is he's facing two lefties to start off against Brantford.
Here's the 0-2. Alvarado, that one will find the zone. Paolo, so look at strike three, and just like that, 3 pitches, 3 strikes, and good start for Alvarado.
Well, that was virtually the same spot as the called third strike on Castaldo in the top of the inning. So, you know, and in fairness, we can't see if it's an inch or two off the plate, so we're not going to pretend that we can. But when you're seeing guys looking at outside pitches, that generally means that the umpire is getting comfortable with calling an inch or two off the plate, and that could make for a quick ball game, to be honest with you.
Well, great pitch placement here early on from Alvarado, but Takioka is going to make him work for those strikes. We know that. That one goes down for strike one, now 4 in a row to start the ball game. But we talked about it all season, Brian. I mean, Takioka, just whether it's hitting, whether it's walking, he really crowds that strike zone, and he makes pitchers work for outs. That one wide off the plate, going to go ball 1.
Dude is an on-base machine. Every at-bat that I have seen him over the last few weeks has been a good at-bat. Never is it I don't really recall him ever swinging at a pitch that was way out of the zone, a non-competitive pitch. Every at-bat seems like a competitive one.
That one well wide, though. Finally misses his spot. Alvarado, second ball of the ball game. 2-1 now to Takioka. And Takioka is a guy that sees a death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of hitter. 12 hits on the season for him, only 1 RBI. Couple runs, though. Really does a good job getting on base, and he's a threat with his legs once he's out there. 2-1 right down Main Street, but a little bit too high. Now 3-1 to Takioka, looking for his 5th walk here.
You're absolutely right. He is a terror on the bases there. I love this guy. You know, we've talked about him and Paulus 1-2 in the order. They are interchangeable. You could do either or. Paulus is hitting 370 or 380. And Takioka is the on-base guy. The only, like I said, there's 2 different theories there. One, you want the guy who's going to have the high average on top. The other theory is to have Takioka, the really great base runner, out in front there, leading the charge around the bases.
Biggest pitch in baseball, full count. That one chopped off foul. This bat will keep going. And you make a great point there about kind of management, not really moving guys around. They all have speed upside, and they've really kept it. Paolo's, Takioka, Bateman, like I said, for about 6 games now. Jeff Lounsbury back to coaching, you know, splitting roles as GM. I know we've had some player managers come in as an interim position, but today back to Lounsbury, and he makes the call in the lineup. Borderline the same as Sunday. 3-2. That one, does he go around? Third base says he does. Second strikeout of the ball game, and the fans here at Arnold Anderson not in agreement with that one.
No, I should think not. That's a tough call for the third base umpire, Jeff Rose. There is a wide berth of definition on whether a player swung or didn't swing, whether he committed to a pitch. A lot of people say, do the hands drift? Does the bat cross the plate?
Right.
There's all kinds of rules, but at the end of the day, it is as judgment a call similar to, say, basketball, where the charge versus the block. It's very much a subjective call. Here's
Lucas Bateman. First pitch inside on the hands for ball 1, and Bateman's been exceptional. I know the last couple games, and not much of a slump, but just not having those 500, 750 batting average ball games, but still hitting 333, 7 RBIs on the year, 5 walks to 7 strikeouts. Second pitch, again, must have been high because it was right down the middle. Ball 2, and Bateman finds himself in a good hitter's count with the power hitter Christian Ortega behind him in the lineup.
Yeah, you know you've had a good start with Bateman when you have a couple of 1-for-4 games and you're still hitting 333 for the season.
2-0. Low and in the dirt. The 3-0. Alvarado's location kind of getting away from him here. And Bateman had that great fielding play, that electric kind of hot from second base, a great jumping catch there in that effort against Kitchener. Really put the Panthers' only real offensive inning of the game, and he shut it down with a crucial play on defense. That one, they will give it to him just high enough that home plate umpire Nick Leffler going to call 3-1 here.
Alvarado has what we call a live arm. Even when he throws his fastball, it's got about 4 to 6 inches of tail on it, depending whether he throws a 4-seamer or a 2-seamer.
That one going to be struck right at the shortstop. Didn't really get all of it. And it's over to the first base line. Moreno Nice textbook throw to record the out, and that'll wrap up the first inning. Same way for both teams, a pair of strikeouts and a ground out. Arbach and Alvarado looking exceptional in the first inning. We'll be back after a quick break. We'll see you in just a moment. Tune in on IBL Brantford Red Sox Baseball for the top of the second. And as we return, as the spinning bat race ends here at Arnold Anderson Stadium for the kids in between innings, let's introduce you to the Brantford defense that's going to be returning with Nikolai Arbach on the mound here. Out in your outfield, it's more or less what it's been this season when Torzen isn't playing right field. It's going to be Takioka in left, Paulos in center. We already saw them on offense. And Brody Black hitting in the 8th spot starting at right field today. Your infield, Torzen's going to start at first. He's subbing in for Nick Burdett, who started on Sunday. Other than that, the lineup the exact same. Bateman at second, Schmarter at shortstop. Andrew Savage making his 3rd appearance on the season. He DH'd, caught, and now he's out there in third base once again. Seems to have found his defensive position. And as always, it's going to be Cassidy Watt, the back catch there on defense. Again, we've talked about his exceptional ability with the arm, exceptional pop time. He and Arbach are going to be working together today to really shut down this Toronto offense like they did in that first inning. Our player to watch, Marcus Connect now, number 4, hitting 4th in the lineup today. Arbach already sitting on 2 strikeouts. We'll see what he gives here to Connect on his first effort.
It's going to be important to try and jam him early on, I think, to not let him get those arms extended.
Really good movement. That one just picks the corner. Looks like the ump is kind of favoring lower strike zones here today, and that may help Arbach, a guy who doesn't really have that ball float in the air the way he releases it wide. 0-1. That one chops in the gap between shortstop and third. That one will get down for the first base hit of the day. Takioka will get it right in, so we'll hold him at first. But that's our player to watch, Marcus Connect, first hitter of the day.
And a nice piece of hitting there. He came back with that slider again, only he got a little bit too much of the plate. And as soon as you make a mistake to a guy like that, at least the good news is he kept it on the ground and didn't get it up in the air. So that's a single, and now we got to go to work on the next hitter.
Yeah, it's going to be Rando Moreno hitting up here 5th in the order today. The shortstop, he's got a little bit of speed upside, but one of the more power-happy shortstops in the game. If you look at his numbers, 17 RBIs on the season. Big sample size, 63 at-bats, 20 hits for him, 4 walks to 8 strikeouts. Not the typical shortstop hitting profile. The 1-0 from Arbach. That one chopped right up in the air over the head of Arbach, who will settle under it. Oh, close call. They will give it to him. Moreno retired there on that throw from Arbach, but a weird, mighty high bouncer. Arbach was kind of a man waiting there.
That's the old Texas leaguer there. It went way up. It's almost as high as the backstop, to be honest with you. Nice job by Arbach to very patiently and confidently catch the ball, step, and throw to first base. An accurate throw, just getting him in time. That's what we were hoping for there, was that sinker to try and get a ground ball, but he just got under it a little too much and bounced the ball off the plate up in the air.
Here's Justin Mara. The back catch will hit 6th today. That one wide off the plate for him. And you talked about the upside there a little bit earlier. He's a guy who's been around the game for a long time, Brian, and a guy that has good defensive upside. Not hitting as well as these top 4, or top 5, I should say. So really this top of the Toronto lineup kind of ends with Mara, 236 on the season. That one chopped right at the first base line. Torzen can't settle on it. First game defensively at first in a while, and we've got a runner around, coming around home. Marcus Connect will score. Our player to watch is the first base runner to score today, and the Maple Leafs lead at 1-0.
And I didn't even get a chance to get it out of my mouth. I don't care what batting average Justin Mara has. He's still a really good hitter, a really dangerous hitter. If you make a mistake to him, he will make you pay for it. He ripped that down the first base line, and Torreson had no chance to react to it. It just got it inside the base, down the line. Easy run scored for Toronto.
So 1-0 lead here early for the Maple Leafs. Spencer Ross making his way up here. A pair of Spencers hitting 7th and 8th tonight. Spencer McInnes will be next up. And now he's got Mr. Justin Morris sitting on first base. Arbach puts that one right down the middle for strike one.
Now, a week ago when these two teams played, they sent Mara. Now, they had his brother Dan hitting behind him. They did hit and run with him at least twice last week, so I wonder if they'll continue to be aggressive on the base pass tonight.
The 0-1. That one very similarly placed, but a little bit too high. Going to be a 1-1 now.
One thing I noticed about Arbach is he's quite quick to the plate. He'll be tough to run on tonight, I think.
Again, an absolute fireballer getting the ball to home plate. We'll see what he does if he has a runner here in Mara. That one close, but he will give it to him. Leffler says strike two. Now the 1-2 for Ross.
Pitcher strike zone early on for the home plate umpire, which is something that all fans prefer, I think. I think they like an umpire that calls strikes.
Here's the 1-2 for Ross. That one low and in the dirt. Good job by Watt to keep that one in front of him, but now 2-2.
Nice take there by Ross. That was a tough pitch to lay off of.
Ross hitting .227 on the season. 10 hits and 44 at-bats. That one down in the dirt. Now going to see a full count here from Arbach, and his ratio is 10 walks to 11 strikeouts on the year. So Ross about just as likely to strike out here as walk. The odds makers don't know what to do with this one. 3-2 here.
Wouldn't surprise me if they sent the runner here, to be honest with you, for a guy who can make contact like he does.
Mara not a big lead, hands on the knees, see what he does. Thought about going, that one sent right to Schmarter at shortstop. Right to first base. I'm surprised he didn't even try the little pop to the second baseman on the double play there, but we'll make sure he records Ross at the very minimum.
Okay, so here's what I think happened there. Because of the bluff, he bluffed to go there, and somebody yelled runner. And so you don't have time to yell, oh, never mind, or he's bluffing, or never mind, or what have you. So he's under the impression that the runner was trying to steal second, thinking that he didn't have enough time. And if you spend too much time looking at second base, you may miss the out at first. There's one out, you get the second out at first base, you take that sure out. Now you've got two out, and see if you can get out of the inning here without any more damage being done. So like I say, that's the nice thing about running, being aggressive, as I've been talking about for a couple of broadcasts now, is that you put pressure on the defense, and that's exactly what happened there with Brantford.
Well, that'll put Mara on second. Spencer McInnes just watched strike one. Watches ball one that time, low and in the dirt. And I mean, I think the approach is very clear here for Arbach. Really good speed, but he's kind of just trying to pick the corners, not seeing a ton of lateral movement. And that's one of those things, at least for me, that'll worry me when we get back through the order here.
Well, it's important to stay away from the meat of the plate there, especially at the top of the order. At the bottom of the order, I'd like to see him a little more aggressive.
That one chopped. Third baseman can't get a hand on it. Off the glove of Savage, and Ross will get the stop sign. Think he might have had a chance at home, but first base for McInnes. Another single. That's the third of the inning, and Arbach is going to head back to the pitcher's mound. He's going to need to get this one figured out as the bottom of the order comes around here for Toronto. It'll be Kaleo Shaw with runners on the corners.
Well, that was a hot shot, a tough play for Savage there, to be honest with you. It kind of ate him up a little bit. He didn't really even have time to pull off a proper drop step there. It just got on him. It looked like he was up a little bit, to be honest with you, playing in a little tight. I could see he's playing back further now in behind the base. See if they want to run again here.
Justin Mara here on third. Remember, he had that RBI single earlier. That one fouled right back at the fence here. Strike one. And remember, today's Deafblind Awareness Nights, the Deafblind game here at Arnold Anderson Stadium. We're going to talk to Kathy, representing our activation tonight. She'll be here sometime around the fourth inning. Arbach now the 0-1 for Shaw. That one right down the middle, a little high, but keeps it in. Now 2 strikes for Shaw, and this could be huge here for Arbach. Could strand the runners on the corners. Yeah,
important to make a good pitch here. I'd like to see maybe bust a sinker in on him.
The 0-2. Didn't give it to him. Leffler's had that spot go the other way a couple times. Arbach doesn't get it here. 1-2 count.
Well, it's a smart play by Watt. The umpire's been giving a little bit off the plate there, so let's see just how far the umpire is willing to go to give us a call.
Runners still in the corners. 1-2 here to Kaleo Shaw.
He'll go back outside here.
Watt moves wide, doesn't pick his spot. Looked like a good spot, a good positioning for the strikeout pitch. Arbach just couldn't find him.
And now you're in a situation where it's 2-2. You don't want to see yourself go 3-2 because then the runner gets the lead. He gets to take off from first base there on 3-2 with 2 out.
See what happens here. That one going to be chopped straight at the runner who moves out of the way. That'll score Mara. Looks like Ross will get the call to hold it there, and that's another hit. Shaw, an interesting year, 12 at-bats for him. That's his 5th hit to go with 5 strikeouts. Very two-outcome hitter.
A little too much of the plate there. Got the ball up and out over the plate. Give him a good pitch to hit with 2 strikes. And that is the nature of the IBL, that these guys, even though they don't have really good batting averages, if you make mistakes to them, they can make you pay for it.
Ryan Dos Santos back up again. He struck out in the first inning. That one low just in, though. Leffler will give it to Arbach, the 0-1 here. Remember, Dos Santos hitting only .229 on the season, but a guy with great athletic upside. Runners on first and second. That one widen off the plate again. Arbach trying to find that outside spot. Sometimes he's getting it, sometimes he's not, and he's riding that outside line.
Yeah, he just missed a little bit there, just a few inches to the left side. He's got the batter reaching out now. He might want to come back inside.
That one chopped straight towards Bateman. Can Bateman get the play on it? And he'll toss it to second. Chance at the 2, but he only needs the 1. That will end the inning, but second inning that I think showed a little bit of weakness there from Arbach's approach. Guys started to catch up to him, and Toronto takes a 2-0 lead.
Well, you're right. At the end of the day, we got a couple of mistake pitches that got a little bit too much of the plate. This is a good Toronto lineup. They can hit. They're, I believe, 3rd in the league in batting average. You know, the top of the order is deadly, but the bottom can also hit as well, as they have just proven. So now it's up to Brantford to get on Alvarado. He's a tough pitcher to hit, regardless of his statistics. But at the end of the day, it's time for them to get on this pitcher and start getting some runners on. As a lefty, he's really only a 2-pitch pitcher. He's got that slider and he's got the live fastball. So, you can almost sell out to one or the other. And they had an opportunity in the last inning, but he made a good pitch on the slider and just jammed, I believe it was Ortega, or Bateman, excuse me. So once we get through the order, they'll have had a look at him. A lot of these guys haven't seen him before because they're new to the league. He's been around, I believe it was the IBL Pitcher of the Year 2 or 3 years ago. Really good in the playoffs for them, as I recall. And like I said, he only got 2 pitches primarily. He does have a changeup. He doesn't use it very much, but it's mostly the live fastball and the hard slider.
Well, sometimes that's all you need, and the Brantford Red Sox offense will need to see what they can do tonight. And talking about the offense for Toronto, they now open up this lead 2 runs in 2 innings. But looking at their last 5, they really hit a crossover point against Brantford, because coming into that game, they had their loss against Welland, but they were hitting the ball well. And then since that game last time we saw Toronto, it was June 10th, that 14-8 win where Brantford was up late. They were up 8-6. They looked to control it since the beginning. And then, as it has a couple times, the bullpen kind of fell out on them. Since that game where Toronto won, they just haven't had that offensive upside. They lost 17-7 to Barrie on June 11th. That was at home. And then a couple days later, a 3-1 loss in a very low-scoring game against Hamilton, who has, to be fair, had a really good run-limiting defense. But a 3-1 loss and then a 5-2 win against Chatham-Kent. They just haven't had that offensive pop, whereas Brantford on the other side, 8-6 loss, 5-1 win, 12-1 win. They've been the higher-scoring team in those games with big offensive performances. So the offense kind of coming around here for the Maple Leafs for the first time since they were here at Arnold Anderson.
And in fairness, when you look at Sunday, they scored 12, but they got 9 of them in the 7th inning. It was a 3-0 ball game going into the 7th inning.
Kicking us off here, Christian Ortega watches that one go by for ball 1. His first time facing against Alvarado today.
It's been a lot of fun watching Ortega hit over the last few games, and he's got a lot of plate coverage. I like his swing, a lot of power too.
That one will find the zone now, 1-1, and Ortega hitting .358 on the year. We talk about what he can do with the bat in terms of power. 10 RBIs this season, which to my knowledge is the highest on the team. So does a good job, getting guys home. Does well with runners in scoring position. That one's going to be chopped foul. Now going to take himself 1-2, but Yeah, 19 hits, 11 runs, and a guy that, you know, for how many opportunities he's had, he's a guy that's been in a lot of full counts this year, especially early on when I started calling these games. Doesn't strike out too much, though. 6 walks to 11 strikeouts. Not a bad ratio for a guy with such a power tool hitting approach.
Absolutely. Whoops.
That one completely misses its spot. Just fell out of the hand of Alvarado for ball 2.
Yep, just slipped out there a little bit of Nuke Lelouch going on there. Aimed one at the bull. Every once in a while, you got to throw one at the bull, Marshall.
I thought we were about to see the greatest slurve in history. I thought that one was coming back, but the 2-2 here against Ortega. That one, though, had a bit of pretty good movement on it, but Leffler won't give it to him. Full count on 3-2. Like I just said, Ortega's in this spot a lot, tends to do well here.
Yeah, you said it, man. He gets to a lot of full counts. He's a tough out, a good 2-strike hitter.
Let's see what Alvarado deals him on the full count. That one chopped straight at third base. Had to keep their heads up there to the third base grandstand. And again, great attendance here tonight for a ball game that was raining about an hour ago, and the Brantford fans out there get away with one. Had some velocity under it. Cassidy Watt in the batter's box after Ortega. The 3-2. A great movement, fools Ortega. Strike 3 on the day for Alvarado. First of the inning to open it up.
Well, he took a little bit off that slider and really messed up Ortega. What a really nice pitch that was. He got a lot more depth to it. That's the thing with a slider. When you throw it hard, you get the late break. But when you take something off it, you get a lot more depth to it, and that's what he did there. He just took – it can be the same pitch, same grip, same release. Just take a little bit off it, and you get a little bit extra break, plus you get him out on his front foot. Really nice pitch there. Ortega's
a guy that tends to set up like he knows what's coming. Positive body language. And that one chopped straight at the second baseman. Not much chance for Watt. He's a quick catcher, but not quick enough to make it to the plate there. Second out of the inning, and textbook play by Spencer Ross, keeping that one simple.
Clearly Watt's intention there was to hijack an early fastball. He got the pitch that he wanted and attacked it. He just didn't get around on it.
Now here's a guy, Brian, that in Matt Torres, and that based on your sample size here as a commentator, you got to think is one of the best of all time. Almost hit for the cycle on Sunday against Kitchener.
Well, we'll see if it carries over, but yeah, there was a lot good going on there. And he
chopped right at the third baseman. It's going to be John Javier getting it there in time. That'll end the bottom of the second. Real quick inning. The ratio is now 3 groundouts to 3 strikeouts. And Alvarado's not really giving him much of anything to work with, is he?
No, he isn't, but that's a big smile. Big smile on the third baseman's face there, because it was almost a look what I found kind of situation. That was not textbook mechanics the way he fielded that ball, but it was on him at about a 90-mile-an-hour exit velo and got on him in a big hurry and a nice play to squeeze it and get the strong throw across the diamond over to first base. So, yeah, 2 guys, first ball hitters. Ortega saw, I think, 7 pitches, and then Watt hit the first pitch, and then so did Torreson. So good news for Torreson is still hit the ball hard, but he hit it right at the third baseman. So now here's an uncomfortable situation where you've got our camera guy there standing right behind the catcher warming up.
That one almost actually found him.
And right on cue, the ball goes right past him. You might want to adjust his stance a little bit there, I think.
Well, you can't argue here at Brantford IBL Red Sox YouTube, whether it be here on YouTube or watching on cable. We get right to the heart of the action. And right now the action is Boomer, our mascot. Getting the crowd hyped up here, and as the sun starts to set here, really good temperature, another really great night of ball. And again, we'll talk more about Deafblind Awareness Night tonight. The silent 4th inning is going to be tonight's special activity for that. And during that, we'll be talking to Kathy from Sensity, who are representing Deafblind Awareness Night.
And they're just doing some amazing work over there, helping out the deaf and blind people. And you know, it's such a labor of love that these folks do. And kudos to them for all the good work they do.
Well, we'll take a quick moment here to re-up the order. And it was John Javier who made that big defensive play there just to make that nice quick throw to first base last time by. And you've talked about it, John Javier leading the league in batting average. He's a guy that I don't think any pitcher's figured out the approach for. He really crowds the box. He has a great strikeout to walk ratio. And from the other end, he has such a high upside with power. Well, he has a triple on the season, 3 home runs, but a guy that just hits the ball so hard for doubles that 11 RBIs is even selling him short. All right, in the back on the first pitch from Arbach.
Ooh, that got him right behind the knee, I think. Those are painful. That'll take a minute to shake off.
Well, I alluded to the fact nobody's figured him out, but if you want to limit the long ball, they'll get away with only one as Javier will take that quick stroll over to first base. Glad he's all right. That one square in the numbers as Jordan Castaldo will come back. Struck out in the first inning. Look to join the party. Only, well, really nobody without success today. Dos Santos strikeout and a ground out. Everybody else either a sac hit or a proper single thus far.
So it's time to use that sinker to try and get him out in front of something so that you can try and get a ground ball, because Castaldo, as strong as he is, as good a hitter if he is not the best runner. So he's a prime candidate to turn a double play here if you can get a ground ball. Great
walk to strikeout ratio, 10-6. That one low in the dirt starts off the journey to a walk. 1-0 here.
Start him off with the slider there. Just went around the outside of the plate a little bit too far out.
Here's the 0-1. Arbach looking to get back in it. That one a big swing and a miss that time. Even 1-1. Castaldo was the right field fence on that one.
Yeah, unlike Sunday when the wind was kind of carrying out to center or just left of center, the wind was kind of going left to right and kind of pushing out toward right field, at least during the pregame. Judging by the flag out in center field, though, the wind has died down.
Yeah. The 1-1, that one chopped right at Arbach, the comebacker for a double play potentially. Yes, it is. Right to second, right to first, 2 quick outs, and Arbach doing it himself there on defense. Put himself in a rough spot with that Javier HBP, and he'll work it back there.
And to my point, he really worked that sinker nicely to get the ground ball. And, of course, that's the best thing. Get it right back to you, turn and fire to the shortstop, whose momentum is taking them toward first base. And it's so important to have the bases empty when Connect comes up.
Well, Marcus Connect was the first runner to score today. He had a single in the first. What can he do in the second?
Can of corn.
Palos settles under it. That'll end the inning just as quickly as they'd hope. And Arbach really doing a great job with that comeback, or could have been a very different inning had that gone the other way.
And even more importantly, that was about a 5-pitch inning. I think that Castaldo hit the third pitch for the double play, and then the very next pitch is lined out to center field. And that's how you get deep in a ball game, to have those innings where you pitch less than 10 innings. And just a great job there defensively, execution with the pitching. Fantastic. Now we got the bottom of the Brantford order up with Savage, Black, and Schmarter. And there's a couple of guys there who are looking to break out a little bit. So,
yeah, a guy in Savage who's less known than the other 2 gentlemen behind him who have borderline played every game. I know Black has substituted out. That right field spot has had a little bit of volatility this year, but I think let's talk a little bit big picture here about the standings as Alvarado warms up for his third inning of work here. And I mean, there's really feels like, I think the common sentiment in the IBL right now is that Welland and London are just on a different level. Chatham-Kent may be there, otherwise we'll pull up the standings for you there at home. But Chatham-Kent, they're 8-6. You remember back when we played them originally, the storyline in that game with Carlos Verde alongside me is that they were 3-6 at the time. Could they be in the hunt for us with a playoff spot at the bottom of the league? They've really turned it around. And I think the sentiment, if you project well that Brantford's last 2 wins, if they get another big one here today, they could be well on the way to be the next Chatham-Kent. And Kitchener and Guelph at the bottom of the order are the teams we could be knocking off.
Well, with a 9-team league, only 8 teams make the playoffs, and so you got to catch one of them, and they're in a position right now. And equally important is that they're beating those teams. They're beating Guelph, they're beating Kitchener. And so if it comes down to head-to-head record and a tie, get that tiebreaker is super important as well. So it's important to keep the momentum going, keep building a little bit better, and that's what we do. We develop the ball club. Every time we hit the field, whatever it is we're doing, we're messing with lineups. We're using bullpen pieces in different scenarios to see where they're most effective and to get to know your ball club. And that's the important thing about having a day-to-day manager, which in fairness, they thought they had a guy and it didn't work out. So they're just kind of getting through it right now, whether it's Nick Burdett or Tyler Soucy or the boss, Jeff Lounsbury, running like he is tonight. So it's just really important to just keep developing the team and getting that continuity so that you have guys with defined roles moving forward.
Well, here's Andrew Savage to lead off the bottom of the third, hitting 7th today. The first time he's played consecutive games at one position. Today he does so at third base. That one inside, close to the hands, but in the zone. Strike one for Alvarado.
Sort of a right-handed Takioka here, where he likes to get up right close to the, he's got that open stance. His back foot is just inside the inside baseline.
That one chopped straight towards shortstop. Not much to work with there in terms of speed, and he'll get there in time. It wasn't particularly close in the end, and Savage, a guy that borderline, never strikes out, as to this point in the season had a great average. It'll come down a little bit there, but you make a great point. He's a guy that I think projects really well the rest of the year for getting on base.
Absolutely. Nice play there by Castaldo at first base to scoop that low throw. Really good mechanics there, getting the ball out in front of you, getting it at the bottom of the scoop. Really good defense there.
Well, here's Brody Black. He'll get the call at right field today. Watches that one go by low, and he'll take it for strike one. Brody Black hitting 176 on the year, 34 at-bats, a pretty big sample size, 16 strikeouts to 3 walks, the ratio that's worrying, but does have 5 runs and 4 RBIs. Not too bad for the bottom of this Brantford lineup relative to what they've had there the rest of the year. Now 1-1.
Well, with these two fellas at the bottom, Black and Schmarber, it's important for them to do something here, either have lengthy at bats or get on base. At the very least, have a lengthy at bat, make the pitcher work, get that pitch count up, and try and get into Toronto's bullpen as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think the big thing with how great they've been on defense is just provide value, like you're saying, Brian. Just do something to keep this team in it, especially if you're starting the inning like this. I think broken bat, at least it sounded like it off the barrel. Second baseman under it, and he'll make the easy catch there. Spencer Ross, his 3rd catch here early in this one.
Nice pitch there by Alvarado, jamming him. That was definitely a broken bat. Marshall, you're right about that. It has a certain sound, got him right in on the hands. He'll feel that one for a minute or two for sure.
Well, the momentum swinging very different ways after that first inning. That was identical. Brantford to the end of their lineup and could be out 9 up, 9 down here as Max Schmarter comes up today. He was our player to watch on Sunday night. He's at 109 this year. That one in for strike one. But again, that defensive value. It's these guys like these catchers you talked about last week with Junior Ibarra. These guys that are just so good defensively to hold the team down on that side of the plate. If they can just get anything going on offense, they're worth their weight in gold. That one.
Yeah, it's almost a bonus. You're right. It's you just keep giving that good defense, and then anything you give on offense is a bonus. But it does help to get the lineup turned over earlier.
Here comes the 1-1. Alvarado looking for strikeout 4 on the day here. That one, a big swing and a miss. 1-2, he's getting closer.
That slider's a tough pitch to hit. Schmarber doesn't really look like he's picking that up real well at this point. Maybe it has something to do with the dusk, but that's a tough pitch, that slider that he throws.
The 1-2. Oh, inside, almost catches him. I think Schmarter a little bit mad he didn't just stand in there and take the HBP on that one.
Yeah, that's where the you'll hear it from the dugout yelling at you to wear that one, to be honest with you, especially when you got 2 strikes on you. But he's another one who stands up pretty close in, so generally you want to pop him inside.
2-2. He does send that one off towards the first base line. Just foul by the length of a ballpark hot dog. That was a close one.
Nice inside-out swing there. He tried to jam him in, but he missed a little bit. A real nice swing by Schmarber to get it, hit it the other way. Just unfortunate that he couldn't get it to land in fair territory there, because that was probably a double.
Well, should he be needed, Ethan Palos up there in the batter's circle. If the top of the order can come back up here, it would be awesome for Schmarter. Again, 109 here on the air.
They'll come back inside, I assume, here.
Big swing and a miss. That'll sit him down and end the bottom of the 3rd. Schmarter's league-leading strikeout total will move up to 26. We'll see him up for later today, and he's a guy that, again, really needs to start getting his momentum back, like a couple guys such as Ortega and Black have in these last few games.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so at this point, you need those guys. At some point in time, they've got to start hitting, you know what I mean? As much as you like their defense, Schmarber's one thing where you've got him out in such a high-profile position. Black, try and get string some hits together. Otherwise you're going to have to try other options there. Just, you've got to turn that lineup over and get that deadly top of the order up more often, earlier and more often. So, at the end of the day, if they can get some hits, get some at-bats where they get on base, a guy like Paulus who's hitting near 400, a leadoff hitter hitting near 400, it would be nice if somebody at the bottom of the order was getting on base so that he could start producing some runs as well. Because you got a guy who's hitting almost 400, but he's only got 4 RBIs for the season.
Right.
And at some point in time, you have to wonder what you're going to do with Paulus, whether you're going to move him down, to try and get him up there with runners on, or try other options at the bottom of the order.
We're going to step away here for just a moment. When we come back, we'll have Kathy from Sensity to talk to here as we go through the deafblind awareness silent inning. We'll head back to a word from our sponsors. We'll see you in a moment.
Hard-line drive up the middle. Whoa! Lindor out of nowhere. How did he do that?
That Lindor can play. I don't know about that hair. And don't get me started on those gloves.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
It's time for a revolution. The Ref 1X by Rollins.
And welcome back as the top of the fourth starts off with one of the more interesting plays you'll ever see. Brody Black out there in the outfield doing an exceptional job to bring that one in. But we're joined here by Kathy from Sensity today for Deafblind Awareness Night. Kathy, a great cause, and now we're into the silent inning. First of all, we'll start with yourself. If you want to introduce you and tell a little bit about what we're doing here today.
Sure. So my name is Kathy Pearl. I am the CEO here at Sensity. We're the Deafblind and Sensory Support Network of Canada, and we are a provincial organization that supports people who are deafblind. This is a really important night tonight. June is Deafblind Awareness Month. Many of you probably have heard the name Helen Keller, who is probably the most well-known person who is deafblind. And so the Senate 10 years ago proclaimed in Ontario June as Deafblind Awareness Month. Awareness for us is so important. The disability is very unique. It's also a low incidence. So most times people will have never met a person who's deafblind. I think it's important to note as well that when we talk about deafblindness, we're talking about people who have a combined loss of vision and hearing. It's not just one or the other, they have both. I think the other thing to keep in mind is that not everyone is totally deaf or totally blind. They might have a little bit of vision and hearing. So that kind of describes a little bit of a person who is deafblind.
Well, here we go as we finish up with our second at-bat here momentarily. Arbach going to a full count against Justin Mara. But looking here as we'll finish up this pitch, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But really cool is this silent inning here, no PA, trying to keep things down a little bit. As Nikolai Arbach looks for strikeout 4 on the day. That one in the dirt. He's going to walk Justin Mara, who's on plate for the on base for the second time today. Had that RBI single in the second inning. Spencer Ross will come back up here for his second effort. But Kathy, talking about specifically sports and the idea you talk about, not everybody is fully one way on the spectrum, deaf or blind. There's a lot of diversity within there in the middle. And what, in terms of what we're doing today, is this one of kind of many steps that sporting leagues and different organizations can take to make sport more accessible in that field?
Absolutely. I think that people want to enjoy their lives like you and I do. And I would be remiss if I don't talk about the interveners that support people who are deafblind. They're really acting as their eyes and their ears. Many of you had the opportunity to observe Yimin throwing out the first pitch tonight, who has a little bit of vision and a little bit of hearing, but his intervener was constantly communicating with him, helping him to understand the environment around him, giving those visual cues, talking about, what people are saying. So, I think sport is a really fun way for people to connect as well. I think we all have done that in our lives, and it's important for people who are deafblind as well.
I'm really glad, Kathy, for your cause that the rain kind of held off here for you the way it did. It was looking like it was going to be a weird night here tonight. But I assume your first time here with the Brantford Red Sox here live at a game as part of Sensity. And what's the reception been like so far? A really good turnout tonight is pretty good overall night for you and the team?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I think interaction between a person who's deafblind and the intervener, and so we have lots of other folks who came out to cheer Yimin on tonight, so you can see a lot of different kinds of communication happening throughout the evening as well.
Well, Arbach walks Spencer Ross here. Back-to-back batters now put on first and second. Started off with that great defensive play from Brody Black, but now we find ourselves one out And a couple great hitters up should Toronto get around the lineup. Spencer McInnes. Harbaugh kicks and deals. That one chopped straight towards the shortstop. Schmarter will settle under it. Weird bounce on the dirt for one, not for two. Didn't get there in time, but should record the first out, as he will at least get Spencer Ross out there at second base, but McInnes will move up on the sac single. Cleo Shaw going to be next up here. But that's an awesome opportunity. I think, Kathy, you're really talking about the idea of kind of getting to interact face-to-face. And I think a lot of people, you hear about, causes like either deaf-blindness, and I think they're easy to kind of think of as linear. Like you said, it's not all one or all the other. You talked about Helen Keller, but I think really getting a chance for people to kind of understand and interact personally, I think is a great step today. And I think is why opportunities like this, not just to have a charity involvement and raise money, but really to have people, such as you talk about with the first pitch today, come out and really be here in person, be involved in the baseball process.
Well, I hope today that we've been able to give everyone a glimpse into deafblindness, and every little bit helps.
Well, certainly Arbach puts that one down and just outside the zone for ball two. You personally, Kathy, are you much of a long-time baseball fan?
Yeah, I used to play fastball. I was catcher. My dad actually used to coach the Junior Braves.
Really?
Back in the day here. So I spent a lot of time in the stadium.
There you go, catcher. Like a position I have the most respect for. If I had played it 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to sit the way I am today. It's brutal on the knees. So here's the 2-0. A little bit of movement there on first base, but the runners will hold here. 2 outs, big spot here for Arbach. Now 3-0 here, as the left fielder hasn't been given him much to work with here in the top of the fourth. Shaw had the RBI single in the second. We'll see what he does here. That one will finally go the way of Arbach, right down the middle for strike one. Runners on the corners, and again, it's Justin Mara. Had that RBI single, almost scored there in the second inning. He's out there on third. A little bit of a lead there at first. He'll try it. Arbach will get him. This could end the top of the fourth. He's in a rundown. Arbach himself now on first. Nice piece of movement. Runner will try home. Mara is out. Not a question about it. And the Brantford Red Sox get out of one that they never seem to be there, but two great defensive plays, one by Arbach to strand the base runner, and the inning-opening Brody Black catch out there in right field. Brantford doing a great job in between the lines, keeping this one close. But Kathy, we thank you very much for joining us up here. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you ever want to come back, there's always a spot for you.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, there you go. That's Kathy from Sensity. It's been a pleasure to have her today. We'll be joined back here in a few moments once again by Brian Halley. But for those of you that haven't made a chance to come out here into the Arnold Anderson Stadium, it's reverse tariff season. New owner Terry Smith is, for a number of reasons, to try to make sport more affordable, to really encourage this new era of Brantford Red Sox baseball. To start off hot for the people of Brantford, free tickets for the entire season, and also to bring back together the American fans, the Canadian fans, a number of Americans on this Brantford Red Sox lineup, including our very own starter, Mr. Nikolai Arbach. So he'll sit them down in a very interesting inning. I'm not sure how much of that you caught there, Brian, but it started off with a big catch out there in right field, and I think the first pickoff I've seen from a Brantford starter all season, a very long rundown.
Well, yeah, I caught all of that, and what a really great defensive inning for Brantford that was. First of all, what a catch, that home run-saving catch by Blackout in right field. And, we alluded to it just prior to that. If he wasn't going to get a hit, you better contribute defensively, and he certainly did that. He certainly saved a run. We talk about that WAR statistic, your win above replacement. Mm-hmm. Are you saving runs? If you're not producing runs, are you at least saving them defensively? Right. And he certainly did that. And that last play, I was thinking the same thing as the pitcher was. I was ready for him to go. 3-1 count, 2 out, runners on first and third. Maybe they do a double steal, something like that. So it would be a good time to throw over. And it's kind of a unique leadoff that I think it was Ross on first base, and it's kind of a unique leadoff where he really strides out. And so it was a matter of timing your move while he's in the air, because then he's done. He can't get back when he's in the air, right? So really nice pickoff move. And on top of that, not only was that a good pickoff move, it was really well executed rundown play, because a lot of times that runner coming home from third, they forget about him and just focus on the run between first and second.
Right.
But it was a really good job by Torreson to run him down. And then I believe it was Bateman at second base When he spun around and took off, Bateman looked home, saw home, delivered an accurate throw to the catcher, easy play at home. Boom, you're out of the inning.
And Arbach had his eyes on home plate that entire time. I think he was the one that initially called out when Morrow went there. That one, a very nice slider with good movement. Fools Palos for strike one as he'll return at the top of the order. Palos struck out in the first inning, was the first of Alvarado's 4 Ks on the day. That one, a very similar pitch. Palos at least gets the bat on it, but finds himself down 0-2 early in this one.
And on top of that, if I could add one more thing about that, Marshall, a nice play by Arbach to go over and cover up for the rundown. The one thing a lot of pitchers do is they tend to sit and watch the play after they've thrown the pitch.
Right.
And so what he did then, he went around to first base to help out when you get into we used to call it the pickle play. And so you've got to get guys in behind and rotating so that you can cover each other off so you can carry on the pickle play until the runner gets tired. Ideally, you only want to do a maximum of 3 throws, but the runner was doing a good job of you had the runner on third base, which was added difficulty on that play. So a good job by Arbach to get over and behind and cover up on the rundown play as well.
Another high slider there for Alvarado. That's the first one that doesn't find pay dirt in this at-bat. Now 1-2 here to Ethan Palos. And Alvarado, I mean, that we talked about that 6.75 ERA, working it back early in this one. That one chopped at the third baseman. Won't make the play. Shortstop can't get it either. Palos, not a hitter-friendly count, but a hitter-friendly result right up the middle of 2 fielders, and he's on base with a single.
Well, that's a nice piece of hitting right there on an 0-2 pitch. Lefty on lefty, it's tough at the best of times. Lefties facing lefties, they don't do it very often. And so for him to get that through the hole there was just a really nice piece of hitting, getting it through. And that's what happens with a guy who's hitting almost 400. He gets that ball through the infield. That's the difference. So should be very interesting now. You've got a runner on for Takioka. You got the third baseman in on the grass expecting bunt. I don't know if I'm in love with a bunt here, but we'll see what happens.
Don't forget, got Bateman and Ortega up in the order, guaranteed now as well. There's the bunt you were talking about. Doesn't go the right way, though. That one will be fouled back for strike one.
Okay, so you don't want to be too critical of the guys, but you have to make up your mind. Are you butting for a hit, or are you butting to sacrifice? If you're butting to sacrifice, get the bat out there early.
Right.
You also see him in the back of the batter's box. If you're going to bunt for a sacrifice, you get out to the front, and that makes it easier to keep the ball fair.
Here's Alvarado in the 0-1. That one finds the zone as well, and a really good piece of horizontal movement there. We've seen that kind of faux slider, the slider and the fastball kind of come out the same way, and I think that's part of why Brantford just hasn't caught up to him yet today.
Now, I don't know if it's the extra humidity in the air, but that slider is really moving tonight.
The 0-2 here for Takioka. Same spot, different result. Finally gets a ball call. Now 1-2 here to Takioka.
Tried to sneak the fastball on the outside, backdoor the two-seamer, but just got it a little bit wide. Nice take by Takioka.
Alvarado doing a really good job so far disguising his releases. Moving off first is Palos, a little bit of a lead. Takioka sends that one up in the air out to left field. Settling under it is Dos Santos. He'll make the easy catch, and the runner will head back. Palos, no tag up on that one, as Lucas Bateman will return to the game for the second time today. Grounded out in the first inning.
Well, I tell you what, this is the first pitcher that's really handled Takioka pretty well for the first 2 at-bats at least. Anyway, we'll see what kind of information goes up into the bank there. He brings up for his 3rd at-bat for Alvarado, assuming he's still out there. But now this is a good matchup for Brantford. Bateman, who has been a real good hitter for them, good right-handed hitter. Maybe time to put a play on here, get something happen.
Was the only pitcher who really got Alvarado into a deep count there early, as that one sent well out to left field.
There. Yep.
Just fair. It'll come down. Both runners will advance around to third. Slides in. Both on. Awesome piece of hitting there by Lucas Bateman. Just finds fair ground and did a great job there to the left fielder Dos Santos to bring that one back in. I think Palos might have had a shot at home if that throw wasn't so quick, but Brantford's offense coming back to life.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Great play by Dos Santos getting that ball back in. It seemed like he was on it just as soon as he landed there. I thought there was a chance maybe that Paulus could score there, but just a little bit of a mistake pitch. That two-seamer came back, got too much of the plate, and Bateman made no mistake on it. Now you've got Ortega up here in a spot that you want him in. You want your number 4 hitter in a run-scoring situation. I wonder how they're going to pitch him here with a base open and the catcher on deck.
He was swinging like the bat was on fire into that second inning strikeout. We'll see how Ortega approaches this one with 2 on. That one going to go for strike 1. That Alvarado slider, you talk about it. Maybe it's the humidity, maybe it's just the lack of wind, but he's got the location on it perfect. He can pick the corner with that pitch like no other.
Yeah, he's been backdooring that pitch all night.
The 0-1. Low and in the dirt. Didn't quite find a spot that time, and I haven't talked about it much, but Mara doing a great job there behind the plate today. Again, keeping the ball in front of him. Had that one wild pitch early, but was with no base runners.
Well, like I say, he's a stud back there. He's a guy that you want handling your pitching staff. He's seen a lot of baseball. He's a veteran player in this league. One of my favorites.
Ortega's batted in 10 runs so far this season, most on the team. See what he does with 2 in scoring position. That one sent well out to center field.
That's really
that one
well
keeps
hit.
carrying. It's got a shot. Comes down just in time, but that'll be a sack as the runner will score. Palos in for the first Brantford run of the day. 2-1. Maple Leafs still lead, but the Red Sox still got a man on second.
Well, as good as that was unfortunate to hit it right into the meat of the ballpark. That was probably 395 feet,
Yeah.
that ball. He absolutely crushed that. If he hits it to any other part of the ballpark, that's gone. And what an adventure by the center fielder there, Shaw. He turned around at least once, a couple of times, I think, they're trying to get a beat on that ball, and it just, man, he absolutely crushed that. And like I said, if he puts that one direction or the other, it's a 3-run homer, and Brantford's leading.
That was a good hit to have in the silent inning. That barrel was clear as day. As Watt's going to send that one out towards right field. Didn't get all of it. I think the second baseman should make the play. Will, and he'll end it what was a promising inning at the start there, but to at least get a run on the board there, you talk about it. That's one I think Ortega's going to wish he had back. A few more feet on.
Well, the other interesting thing there was Bateman out at second base. While that was going on, Bateman was going halfway, and that's a situational thing there where he thought if that ball's going to drop, I'm going to score on it. But once the ball hung up there, I would have preferred to see him get back to second base and tag up and get to third. You put a little bit more pressure on the defense there with a runner at third with 2 out than a runner at second. Any pass ball, any ground ball to the infield that doesn't result in an out is going to score a run. I understand what he was trying to do, and at the start of that hit, when it looked like it might carry and get down for extra bases, but you probably score there regardless. Once
Right.
it hangs up like that, that's when you want to get back to second and tag up.
Well, so we've talked a lot about base running in this game overall, and we'll head through here until our box starts off of the 5th. But thinking a little bit about the base running approach, we've talked about teams like Welland and London that just keep the pressure on consistently. They're always having interesting leadoffs. They're trying to switch up their timing. If you're a team like Brantford, we've talked about how your real hitting threats are at the top of the order. They would have still had Ortega behind them in that situation. You never know what Watt can do with the power in his bat. How much do you want to try to be aggressive if you're the Brantford Red Sox, if you're manager Jeff Lounsbury, and giving your team that more aggressive approach when the reality is the good hitters are in that part of the lineup? And is it maybe more of an ideal approach to wait till later and have the guys like Torres and Savage getting a little bit more creative with their base running, knowing they have weaker hitters behind them versus stronger?
Well, you make a really good point, Marshall, and that my answer, the short answer is that it's probably a situational situation. What I mean by that, and that is a redundancy, and I'm aware that I just said that. So when you got a catcher like Mara, who is real good at shutting down the running game, you better be sure of what you're doing when you're being aggressive on the bases. Having said that, I am an aggressive manager, and the Brantford Red Sox have made it quite clear that they're not going to be as aggressive as I am. So it's just a personal preference. I would like to see him run. I would have liked to see Paulus running on the Bateman hit, which would have scored him there. At the end of the day. So I guess what I'm saying is you want to be patient, but at the same time, too, you have to look at the situation and decide, is this a good time to get aggressive? And, you have to base it on your wisdom and your experience based on all your baseball years to tell you when is a good time. It's a feel situation. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to say it kind of depends.
That's a good way to summarize most baseball, I feel. It depends what team you got in front of you. It depends on the conditions. As boy howdy, the air horns loud here today at Arnold Anderson Stadium. Second pitch here for Kaleo Shaw, who returns after the inning was ended prematurely on that nice Arbach pickoff at the top of the 4th. Now finds himself down 0-2 for Shaw.
And there was that bottom of the order giving him trouble again. He seems to be going through the top of the order with little or no difficulty, and the bottom seems to be getting him, and there it is again.
Well, struck out to left field. No
Can't
doubter
hardly
down
get
for
the
a single.
sentence out, and there's Shaw ripping one to left field, and he's got 2 hits now.
2 singles. One was an RBI there in the second inning. That one gets down. He'll open up the 5th, and a ball game that's seen plenty of hits. You talked about pre-game, the potential for great offense today with the way the wind was looking, with the way balls were carrying in batting practice, but 2-1 on just a number of many singles, not many extra base opportunities today.
Well, and Toronto's such a good hitting club, and Brantford has been hitting really well lately, and Toronto has not pitched real well. So this had the makings of a high-scoring game, but it's really, I mean, nobody loves a 2-1 ball game more than I do, to be honest with you. But this is a clutch inning for Brantford right here. You got the meat of the order coming up. The leadoff 9-hitter leads off with a hit. It's pretty important to get an out here.
That one low and just out of the zone. It's going to go 2-0 here. Arbach can't quite find his spot twice against Dos Santos. Ryan Dos Santos back for the 3rd time today. Struck out, grounded out in the first 2 innings. He'll try to get on board here today. He's got some juice in those legs if he's able to get on base. Could join Shaw here. That one just finds the plate that time. Arbach's on the board for 2-1.
Nice 2-0 pitch there, kind of pitching backwards as I've alluded to in the past, just throwing that slider in on the outside corner.
Arbach 2 walks in the 4th, hasn't had a strikeout since the 1st. That one will go over his head again, gets down to the the Schmarter shortstop spot, and he does get there in time. It looked close, kind of a weird bounce, and I think there was a bit of a miscommunication there between Schmarter and Bateman, who wanted to come over for that one.
Well, I tell you what a nice play there by Schmarber. Holy mackerel, that was a great play. Getting it on the short hop. When you see that high chopper as an infielder, it's important to charge the ball full speed so you can eat up that short hop. Any longer than a foot or 2 feet in that hop, you get in between, and it's almost impossible to pick it up clean. So he took it right off the turf there, made the quick transfer, and got it over to first base just in time. A real nice play there.
That's a great point you make about shortstops and their approach there. Airtime is time, and time is of the essence against this very fast Maple Leafs offense. John Javier, big swing, but a big miss there. League leader in batting average. Bat did not find ball there, but his day so far, ground out in the 1st, and then that first pitch, HBP, got hit by that first pitch at the top of the 3rd. Arbach hasn't really figured him out yet, but by the same token, Javier just can't barrel up what he's seeing.
Well, they sure seem to want to try and pitch him inside. That was right on the inside of the plate as well. A nice 2-seam fastball.
The 0-1. Inside, a little too close. Arbach going to go even 1-1.
Missed his spot there. I think they were trying to chase a slider outside to see if he'd chase it, but he missed his spot on the inside. You could see Watt went to the outside right before the pitch, and they threw it, missed inside. Coming back in here on this pitch.
Yeah, Watt places himself inside. That one going to be chopped out once again. Just kind of sits in the infield. Third baseman thinks about it. Savage won't even try the throw. He's going to focus on the runner behind him, and Shaw, he'll hold it at 3rd. Runners now on the corners.
And that's really unfortunate because he made a great sinker pitch there to get the ground ball he wanted, but he just beat it into the dirt, and it didn't go anywhere. The rain that we've had there makes the infield pretty soft.
Right.
And
we're seeing that.
That ball didn't go 45 feet, I don't think. A nice play by Savage just to barehand it and pick it up clean, but no chance to get the runner at first base. So now we've got as I mentioned before, this is a critical inning for Brantford to try and get out of hit here without getting too much damage done, because the meat of the order is up now. Costello can hit it a mile, and so can Connect. So they can get 2 outs here without giving up a run. That'll be a real feather in the cap of Arbach.
First strike there on Jordan Castaldo. He struck out in the 1st inning, then ground into a double play in the 3rd. So the man in the all-important 3 spot, not the start to the day he's open for, but he's got runners to work with. 2 on the corners here.
Well, now 3rd time around the order, too. There's a lot of information up in that brain, and he knows what he's up there looking for.
I talked about it earlier, my worry with Arbach coming back through the order. That one low, wild pitch here. Watt's got to get to it. Arbach to home plate, over his head, wild pitch, and a collision there at home. Kaleo Shaw limping as he gets up, but he does come home for the run. Arbach gives him a quick apology, and another tough one there. That's where those wild pitches, it doesn't always have to be the runner on 3rd, but when there is a runner on 3rd, especially deadly.
Well, the pitch wasn't what cost him there. His late awareness of the situation, Shaw beat him to the plate. And, Watt didn't have much of a chance there. the pitcher should be standing there when he gets, but he was late getting there, and that's why Watt didn't really have anywhere to throw it to, and that's why the bad throw.
Now 3-1 the lead for Toronto, runner on second. That one right down the middle, but again, a little bit too high. Said good horizontal placement today. Just a lot of balls in the dirt and a little bit too high. Castaldo now finds himself 2-1. That was Shaw that scored the third run of the day here. He now has an RBI and a run. Inside, I think might have caught the leg, but I think we'll reset. Leffler's going to say just come back and...
yeah, he hit him with it.
Well, it's close. I thought I heard it off the foot, but
yeah, hit him off the. I thought it hit him off the back.
Well, he'll chuck his stuff in and take his place on first base. So Arbach here. That again, those little moments here, those little, as a manager, I think those must be what kill you, Brian. Is just didn't quite get to the bag fast enough. A miscommunication that you can work out in practice is the only reason that at bat didn't end, and the reason Toronto got on the board.
Exactly. So that's, you have to be it's not an easy play, but that's an important play for a pitcher. You're doing yourself a favor. You make sure you beat that runner at third base, beat him to the plate, and they had a play there. They most definitely did, but he wasn't there, and that's why the wild throw, because Watt just turned and threw it to the plate, and there wasn't anybody there.
New face up is our player to watch, Marcus Connect, who watches that one go low for ball one. Singled in the second, then flew out in the third, and I see a little bit of movement. Couple relievers making the way over towards the Brantford bullpen.
Yeah, this is a lot of pitches in the dirt the last couple of at-bats. Now you've got a very dangerous hitter with 2 on, and a danger of this one
Danger
getting
of
away
getting
on
out
you
of
a little
hand.
bit.
That one swung on and missed for strike one, and it was what I was talking about pre-game, Brian. I was just worried with kind of the lack of pitch variety, that if guys were really able to get to Arbach, even if he was able to find his good spots in terms of location, guys can just time him up, right? If you don't see variety, if you don't see kind of disguised pitch releases like we've seen from Alvarado, guys just get to you that third time through.
Absolutely.
There's the 1-1. That one chopped out towards Bateman at second base. Can he get under it? Yes, he can. Great play to first.
Oh, my. Put a star beside that one. What a great play.
Exceptional work from Bateman, who's a guy that I never like to highlight his offense first. I know he's got flashy numbers, but out there in the field, he can be a difference maker. Saw that big bouncing ball play, that great jumping catch on Sunday against Kitchener. There's another one for his personal highlight reel.
Well, he's got a Hoover on the end of that left arm, and it seems like everything that touches that glove sticks in it. And just a fantastic play there, really a clutch out. And so you want to be real careful here with a base open and 2 out that you don't get hurt. Having said that, dangerous hitter and Mara on deck. So we're not out of the woods yet. We do have 2 out. Now is when your infield needs to step up and make sure, just like the last play, that nothing gets through. Knocking down a ground ball, and it will save a run.
That one sent well out towards right field. Black's got to make another play at the fence. Over his head. Gone for Mara. Hope those cleats are comfortable because he hasn't been on the bench much today. It was an RBI single, a walk, and now he finds Pater. 3-run home run for Mara as the run lead balloons to 6-1 as the Toronto Maple Leafs, their top of the order hasn't done much, but when it gets to Mara, he makes them pay.
Well, I tell you what, that one was the hanger, and that's the big deal about the third time around that you were just referring to. We both talked about it. You started to worry about him early on in the inning there, that you kind of felt like they were in a spot of bother. And so it's, now the damage is done. It's a 6-1 lead. And so.
Well, bad news for Brantford fans. I was off by a runner. That was Rando Moreno who finds.
Was Moreno,
He
yes.
was Moreno. So he found it for the first time today. Timed that one up really well. Was in very late counts before he grounded out and flew out earlier. So, pardon me, that is his first hit of the day on the 3-run shot. And Brantford fans, Justin Mara now comes back up. Nobody on base, but he didn't have anybody on base earlier when he had two earlier first base appearances. So again, some movement there in the Brantford bullpen. Arbach now 0-1. That one outside.
Well, other than the second inning, when the bottom of the order got him, he looked pretty good. I'm talking about Arbach. He looked pretty good in the third. Had a couple runners on in the fourth where he got out of it with the pickoff play.
That one will hit out towards left field. This one is Mara, but that one's going to go foul right over the heads of those in the third base grandstand.
So it's been a bit of a struggle for him the last couple of innings, and manager Jeff Lounsbury tried to get somebody ready, but they just couldn't get somebody ready in time. So the damage is done, and frankly, the Brantford team has an opportunity now to start getting those sticks going.
Rightish Martyr, textbook catch. Can he make the textbook throw? Yes, he can. Retires this side, not without a little bit of damage. Rando Moreno with a 3-run home run to really open this lead up. And again, we've talked about to this point, it was only singles, and that top of the order really couldn't do much. You get to the 5 and 6 spot now with Moreno. And my big number I want to point out here, Brian, is there are 2 hits, well now 3 hits with Moreno's home run. 3 hits for the top 5 in the order, no walks, versus the bottom where we see 4, a sac single, a sac ground ball, and 2 walks for the bottom 4. It's really bizarre how well the bottom of that Toronto order is hitting against Arbok
They're
tonight.
wearing them out, absolutely. And wasn't it Moreno that hit the fly ball to the fence in
That's
the,
right, yeah.
in the 4th inning? And he tagged him hard last time, and so that might have been a situation where a trip to the bullpen might have been pretty good there. But everybody's 20/20 hindsight. So at the end of the day, now the one thing that we were pretty sure about is that Toronto was going to hit, and they're hitting. So now it's up to Brantford to get back in and get some runs and cut into this lead a little bit here. Everybody's seen the pitcher. They got it going pretty good last inning. They were just 1 hit away from having a big inning themselves last inning, to be honest with you. So you've got, I think, Torreson leading off, if memory serves. It was Watt that was the last out.
Yeah, it'll be Torreson, Andrew Savage, Brody Black, the next 3 up here in the bottom of the 5th for the Red Sox. And Black has been doing a lot of cardio out there in right field. I like his chances if that ball was 15 feet closer to the fence, because Black had that great play out there in the 4th inning. But I want to look kind of ahead. We've had a great night of baseball here so far. Brantford now down 5 as the Toronto Maple Leafs starter Alvarado will make his next trip back up, and he has looked impenetrable today. We'll see what the Red Sox can do with him. But we got another 2 games of action for the Brantford Red Sox in the next 2 days. Tomorrow night they're in Guelph. That'll be an all-important matchup, Brian. Again, talking about this, that battle for that final playoff position. I know it's early in the year, but you talked about the head-to-head. That'll be a crucial one tomorrow night. That one in Guelph at Hastings. And then we're also on the road against London on Sunday. 1:05 start time as they head to Labatt Memorial Park. And that one that'll be a tough matchup against the very hot London Majors.
Yeah, those guys can hit, that's for sure. Roop has loaded up that team for this season, and they've been playing real well. I think they're 10-5 early on, and they'll be really tough, which is impressive considering they lost Owen Boone off that team, who's now in Hamilton as well.
Second time up today for Matt Torreson. He'll chop that one fair, and again, think about the grass. That doesn't take much of a bounce, and that is exactly why the third baseman misses it. Javier can't get a hand on it, and that wet grass from the pregame little bit of rain shower we had is coming in crucial here in the infield.
Yeah, that took a left turn Charlie on him there, that's for sure. And so I'm not sure he had a chance, to be honest with you. It would have taken a perfect play and a perfect throw to get Torreson, who runs pretty well. So that's sometimes you need a break to get a rally started. So at the end of the day, now you can get Savage up there, who hit the ball hard last time up to shortstop. If he could find a hole now and get 2 runners on, then you're in business.
I know a lot of people take exception, like we had early in the season, a lot of postponements around the IBL for field conditions, but today, not even much rain as we see the first one head in there for strike one, and not even much rain, and it's drastically changed the way fielders got to play here in the infield. It really does make a difference.
Absolutely it does, yeah. When it's softer ground, the spins dig in a little bit better. In fairness, that pitch there, that hit, he beat that right into the ground. If there hadn't been any rain and it was a dry field, he bounced it way up in the air, and you never had a chance anyway. So,
a fair point is that slider doesn't find the zone there for Savage, who, again, not a big sample size for him. He's looked relatively solid out there in the field. I mean, he's got big shoes to fill if he's going to play third the rest of the year. Tim Holick was second in the league in home runs when he left the team. Savage hasn't quite shown that pop, but he's hitting well, about 500 so far on the year.
Well, he couldn't have had a better start to his IBL career with 3 hits in Guelph last Saturday. Catching for Brantford, and then moved out to third base on Sunday.
It'll be a good spot for him if he can sit there defensively. Kind of had a bit of an opening since Holick left. Now finds himself 3-0. Could be his first walk of the season. Not that time. It's going to go in for strike one. Does finally find the zone, and Alvarado hasn't looked much different. I think we've seen a lot of pitchers, Brian, especially on Sunday. Kitchener's pitcher just looked different inning to inning. Same for Brantford's starter Irvine, but Really, Alvarado's looked like the same pitcher here since we saw in the first, and now he tries to avoid again. First walk of the year for Savage. That one popped up in the air, though. Looks like under it will be Ross at second base. Couldn't find it, does find it. That one down for the first out.
That was a major league style pop-up. That one went way up in the air, so that's unfortunate. We were hoping he could get on base there and put some pressure on this Toronto defense, but now you've got the bottom of the order, two guys that are really looking to make some noise here. Black's had a good game defensively, so is Schmarber. Let's see if they can contribute offensively.
I think if you're a Brantford Red Sox fan, either in person or watching at home on IBL Red Sox TV, you just want to see some upside from these two guys. You just want to see some pop. You just want to see some promise because they've already justified their value on defense. And they could, you talked about WAR before. WAR can go through the roof if you're a really valuable defensive player that can find some luck here. Finally gets a ball to go his way, and Alvarado's starting to lose his spot a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not a big analytics guy, but the one stat that I like in analytics is WAR, is how does the team do with a certain guy in the lineup.
Big swing and a miss there for strike one. Black is always a guy that does swing for the fences. He's a guy that, 4 RBIs to 6 hits on the year. If you're going to not hit the ball much, when you do hit it hard, and that's what he does.
Yeah, fair enough. He's got a bit of a long swing.
The 1-1. Inside on the hands, goes in for ball 2. Remember, Torres on first after he singled to open up the inning. Next on the batter's circle is Max Schmarter. Only the second time Alvarado has faced this part of the order today. He's done a great job keeping his pitch count low. And the out's flowing. That one chopped towards third base, but foul. Black will go 2-2.
That was a good swing there. He short to the ball and pulled a hard slider. So one thing that I like to see out of pitchers, when you see a guy pull that one into the foul area, take a little bit off the next pitch and see how far out in front you can get him. So wouldn't surprise me if we saw that slow curveball here.
Well, Heinous Alvarado, he's been exceptional today. We'll get a fresh start here against Black. Is to second. Doesn't get there to first, actually. Black, I was going to say, he's going to make him work for it. Like that one out well, and there's another bit of upside you can have, Brian, if you can't hit the ball. You can just outrun it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so Torres will take the walk back to the dugout. Schmarter is going to head up, and the order will follow through for the second time today. Alvarado really hasn't seen that many batters, and that's where I think, Brian, you get yourself ahead early, you have a great start to the game. You see that and how little info players can glean off you.
Absolutely.
Black on first. Schmarter, big swing, big miss on pitch one.
You could just kind of see that front side fly open a little bit with Schmarber. I like to tell guys start closed and stay closed. See him try and hit something into the right center gap here, maybe help him.
That one finds its way off the plate. I don't actually mind Schmarter not swinging it at that, but
might have got a call there.
0-2, 2 outs. This could end the inning for Alvarado. Hasn't had a strikeout there since the third inning, but has 4 on the day. The 0-2. Big swing, big miss. Schmarter sat down, and that'll end the inning. Alvarado has looked pretty exceptional against the back end of the Brantford offense, which is the exact inverse of what we've seen so far from Toronto.
Yeah, I tell you what, the bottom of the order for Toronto has just been a nightmare for our back, to be honest with you. He just can't seem to get anybody out at the bottom, which is really surprising when you look at the power and the speed and the average of those top 4 guys in the Toronto lineup. To get into the bottom and find out you can't get anybody out is a bit of an outlier. It's tough to figure that one out, to be honest. So,
well, as the bubble battlers take their places in their giant inflatable bubbles, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll come back in a moment. Maybe seeing a potential pitching change when we come back at the top of the 6th. We'll see you right back in just a moment on Brantford Red Sox TV.
Get ready, Hamilton. It's the 2025 IBL Home Run Derby and All-Star Game. Hosted by the Hamilton Cardinals at beautiful Bernie Arbor Stadium. Watch the league's top sluggers crush moonshots in the Derby. Then see the best of the best go head-to-head under the lights in the All-Star Game. Grab your tickets now at HamiltonCardinals.com, because this summer, the stars shine brightest in Hamilton.
And welcome back, live from Arnold Anderson Stadium in Brantford, Ontario. Welcome back to Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube. New pitcher joins us here on the Brantford side. It's going to be Jackson Smith, the rookie here to the IBL, making his 4th appearance of the season. He's pitched 3 1/3 innings so far on the young season, has allowed 5 hits, 7 earned runs, though. Has had a tough time with his location, Brian. 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. Not a bad ratio, but the 18.89 ERA will bite you.
Well, he spiked 2 in warm-up already, so, we'll see if he's able to dial it in here in time for the lineup to come up.
As the sun really starting to go down here, we're getting to the late stages here, starting off the last couple innings. And the big thing I think about this is you don't want to see a similar scenario to what we had with Kitchener on Sunday. I think we both agreed that performance, I think the bullpen, they let guys that maybe didn't have much proven track record try to work those important innings in the middle of the game. Jackson Smith, I hope he kind of turns it around, and he has that strikeout upside. We just got to make sure that discipline and some early walks doesn't set this one out of reach for Brantford entirely.
I like the point that you made in defense of Jeff Lounsbury. You got 3 games in 3 days.
True.
And this is not what we would call a high leverage situation. And so, you've got relievers out there like Dos Santos that you would use in a bit or a little more of a high leverage situation. Not that you're giving up on this game, but you just, like I say, you're not going to use your top guys in the 6th inning of a 6-1 lead. First
one from Smith, right down the middle for strike 1. Very different release than what we saw from Arbach.
Well, that's the first thing that you think about is that, you're going to see a completely different look here. And so, if he can give you an inning or 2 clean, maybe you score a couple of runs, then you start getting into a higher leverage situation. You can bring somebody in.
Ooh, big swing and a miss on that one. Finds himself.
Yeah, it's a good contrast where you had the 3/4 delivery with Arbach, where you were right over the top with Smith there, and that's almost a cutter type slider that he throws that just sort of jumps out to the outside of the plate on the righty.
That one chopped off towards the parking lot in the first base line. Misses the cars. It's always a fun moment here at Arnold Anderson when you see the ball fouled off and all the fans' heads head out to see if their cars.
And I learned my lesson because I was parked in that row
right.
on first base line because the parking lot was full, but I got here early today and made sure I get a spot out in the main lot.
Over the head that time of the batter is Smith. You kind of alluded to it there when he was warming up. When that location gets away from him, he can put a few that make Cassidy Watt have to earn his pay.
You can make that work. Effectively wild is the term that we've used in the past.
Here's the 2-2. That one inside. Luckily, didn't hit him though. Going to go to a full count here in his very first at bat of the pitching effort.
And Ross looked like he was completely comfortable with that hitting him, to be honest.
Yeah, Spencer Ross here had a sack ground out that didn't end up scoring a run in the 2nd, then walked in the 4th. So has at least provided value in all his ABs today. That one high over the head. As I believe the count.
3-2 now.
3-2 here. Having a little bit of trouble with the scoreboard. Is going to go to a full count this time for Ross. So Ross, then McInnes, the 2 Spencers up back-to-back. And McInnes similarly has not been out today. This end of the order for Toronto has been deadly. And he'll walk and keep that run going again. Ross going to head over to first base on a free pass for the 2nd time. Did it in the 4th, does it again in the 6th.
Well, and we were referring to that in the warm-up where he wasn't really consistently throwing strikes in the warm-up now. So, that's how you get yourself in trouble in this league is if you put too many guys on with free passes. And, there's some real meat coming up in the order.
Yeah, McInnes, the single in the 2nd inning, and then another sack single in the 4th. That time going to try the bunt, does get down fair. Bit of a miscommunication, I think, again. Watt doesn't even try at it, and the runners will both advance.
Well, that was a really nice bunt, and the thing you see about Smith is that when he finishes delivery, he kind of falls off to the first base side. That's a smart piece of hitting there, laying that bunt down to the third base side. He falls away, and, of course, the way he runs, if you're at all hesitant getting to the ball, he's going to beat that out. So now you've got 2 on and nobody out.
2 for 2 today is Kaleo Shaw, who will come back up for the 3rd time at the bottom of the order. He's already got an RBI and a run scored to his name. Runners on 1st and 2nd. Smith deals low and in the dirt. Watt does a good job getting a hand under it. The runners don't advance.
It's an interesting defensive position here where you've got a right-handed hitter up, yet the middle infield has moved over kind of like it's a lefty up, to be honest with you, like they're anticipating another bunt. I'm not sure I see bunt here, considering the situation.
That one a little bit high there. I think the only rationale I can think of is, to my memory, both those hits, especially the RBI single, were kind of like chopped, pushed balls, one that just found its way fair on the first baseline. So maybe you're just reading the scouting report.
The first one was. The second one was a shot between short and third.
It is a very exaggerated spot for Bateman. You're absolutely right. Is that one? Does he go around? Yes, he does. 2-1. Yeah,
So
Bateman, you're absolutely right. They're basically splitting, the second
almost
baseman
like a
there.
lefty is up, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. And Smith is not a fireballer. This is a guy that you would think that a guy can pull.
2-1. Inside on the hands for Shaw. He'll let that one go by for ball 3, and could become the third hitter in this Toronto lineup to get on base all 3 ABs today. Here's the 3-1. Smith could really use a strikeout on his ledger here. That one will be sent right to Schmarter. Great catch by Schmarter. Doesn't get a chance at the double play as he can't find it in the glove. But Brian, to even prevent that one from getting down past him is a miracle of fielding play.
That was a great stab. It just got stuck in his glove there. I just can't help but think about what we were talking about right prior to the pitch there. If he is in a more of a traditional double play position there, that ball's hit right to him, and that's a can of
great
corn.
point. Is there any rationale you can think of there from Lounsbury as we see Dos Santos come back up here?
Well, if you're going to pitch him, if you're going to play him away, you pitch him away, right? And so what I mean by that is if you're going to play him like he's going to hit the other way, then you want to make sure you pitch him away so that you sort of invite him to hit that way.
Right.
That was an inside pitch, as was the previous one, which is one that you would think he would pull in, which is exactly what he did. So, they were almost in a no-out first and second bunt situation, but at 6-1, you just didn't feel like they were going to bunt. And after the third or fourth pitch of the at-bat that he didn't lay one down, I think you would be suffice to think that they're probably going to swing away here. So, they're playing – the middle infield is playing exactly where they were previous at-bat, but now we have a lefty up instead of a righty.
Right. He'll send that one back, bounces off the support pole here, and Jackson Smith will get his first at-bat today against Ryan Dos Santos, who's already got him at a 1-2 count. Dos Santos, not the day he was looking for at the top of that lineup. Not a historically great average hitter, but strikeout, ground out. Not the day he was looking for on balls in play.
Well, they certainly need a strikeout here before this one gets away on them.
Smith looking for his first K of the day. Almost an eephus pitch. Very slow breaking ball there for 2-2.
That's that old school 12-6 curveball that he's just not, the adage that we use is to pull down the shade, like similar to a window. That's the analogy we use, pull down the shade, and that's you have to really snap that one off to get it pulled down into the strike zone.
Dos Santos looking to get on the board, 2-2. That one high. Waddle try the throw to get the backdoor at third. Doesn't get it.
Good idea there. You never know when we can poach an out to help out your pitcher.
Well, anytime you can find value in a spot like this, no outs, bases loaded, got to do everything you can. 3-2, bases loaded. Big pitch here for Smith. Kicks and deals. That one's high. He'll walk home the run. Here comes the runner in from third base. That was Spencer Ross who walked to start the inning, and he's home for the first time today.
Tyler Sousa has got to go out and have a little chat with him now. They just get some action going in the bullpen. They've got at least one guy throwing over there.
So 7-1 now the lead for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the bases will remain loaded.
And now you've got all kinds of fun coming up now where you've got, Javier and Castaldo and Connect coming up in a row. And
I don't know if it was the late travel situation, but to be fair, they haven't been the guys that have really been causing Brantford trouble so far.
Well, no, you're right, but that's what makes it more worrisome.
That's
the fact
true.
that they haven't done anything yet. They've got 7 runs and they haven't really done anything. So if they do something this time around, then this one's going to get out of hand on them.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the water finds its level method of thinking. I always find these averages work themselves out in the long run, and you're absolutely right. It's rare to get a guy like Marcus Connect or especially Jordan Castaldo going hitless through 3 different attempts. Looking around the league, a defensive barn burner there is the top of the league. Welland, Jackfish, and London Majors still scoreless in the top of the 5th. Smith deals. That one popped up towards the first baseman. Under it is Torres in. And he'll get the first out of the inning. Finally finds a little bit of luck as Mr. Jackson Smith and John Javier sat down for the 3rd time today.
Great pitch there. Got the pitch out over the plate, just caught the black of it and got, it looked like he tried to go the other way with it, hit it where it was pitched, but he got underneath it. That's always the toughest part about going the other way is the fact that you generally pop it up. I always remember Ted Williams talking about going the other way and how you really need to get the bat on top of the ball so that you're not popping it up. That's the toughest thing to do when you're hitting. One of the toughest things to do is to go the other way and not hit it up in the air. So now you got Castaldo, who is a double play candidate, as we saw earlier in this game. He's already hit into a double play, so if you can get a ground ball out of him, you might get out of here.
Smith deals that one. Great movement, does find the zone. Strike one there on Castaldo, who struck out in the 1st inning.
Generally, the softer stuff will have more success against Castaldo. He loves the cheese. He loves the hard pitches and has no problem getting around on it and has a ton of power. He can knock one into the hitting cage out there about 40 feet past the fence.
That one well high over his head. That same 12-6 you talked about earlier just didn't have the location that time.
Yeah, he's just not finding the release point on that one.
It's almost like he's trying to disguise it. He has a lot of very different pitches that you have to come out of the hand in different ways, and I think he's trying to sell them the same, and it's just not working.
Well, that is a kind of an off-speed pitch, and it's a good one if you can throw it for a strike.
Again, bases loaded, Castaldo. Similar pitch, similar location, ball 2, now 2-1. Javier's pop-up there was the first out of this game since Mara ended off the 5th. Runner has scored in 9 of the last 11 at-bats. Runner's got on base 9 of 11 for Toronto since the start of the 5th. Castaldo swings and misses at that one. Smith finally gets a whiff and finds himself 2-2.
Well, obviously this is one of the more important pitches of the ball game right here. If Brantford wants any chance of coming back, they need to limit the damage in this inning. So I think what we've seen so far lends to the belief that if you can bury a curveball at the knees or a little lower, you should have success in this pitch. So just try not to get up with anything here and get it down at the knees.
Here's the 2-2. That one right down the middle, but a little bit too high, says Nick Leffler, home plate umpire.
And you're flirting with disaster when you start putting fastballs around the belt for this guy. So like I said, I think at 3-2, even though it's 3-2, if you feel like that slider is probably the pitch that I would throw here.
Pick your best pitch, let it rip. We'll see what Smith does on the full count. Good movement there, and it'll at least get him to foul off towards 3rd.
Yeah, good pitch there, good slider, good location, and a nice piece of hitting by Castaldo to fight it off and get a piece of it and stay alive.
You talk about how big this at-bat is here, Brian. I know the lead currently up to 6, but if you can hold them off here, a lot of big comebacks late in games in the IBL this year.
Well, we know the Brantford lineup can hit, and they've got top of the order coming up next inning. So, like I said, you got to keep them in sight to have a chance to come back.
3-2. That one set off towards first. Stays foul. Torres can't get a hand on it. 1 run will score. It's Black against the runner at home. The runner will get in safely. He'll get it to the cutoff man, but not before 2 score. It's going to be Ross home and McInnes home on that nice piece of hitting there from Castaldo.
Yeah, cut a little bit too much of the plate. He threw the slider again and cut a little bit too much of the plate. And Castaldo, being a dangerous hitter, ripped it down the line. And I think that'll be all for Jackson Smith.
Yeah, Smith's night should be done here. As once again, Lounsbury will head out, kind of a rotation of managers here for Brantford, not just on the season but throughout the game, heading out to the bullpen. And new arm's going to come in here. We'll get an ID on you in just a second. But Marcus Connect here, he'll come back in the ball game. He was our player to watch. We know his upside. And a quick show of support. A round of applause from the home Brantford crowd here as Smith finds his way out of the game.
Yeah, and that's, as I mentioned earlier on, when you walk too many hitters in an inning, you're going to get yourself in trouble. and we walked 2 or 3 that inning. I think it was 2.
Yeah, 2, yeah.
And, you got to turn guys into hitters, and that's so important.
There's an IBL rookie, Carter Bettis, now on the mound, number 38, the Waterloo, Ontario native. Here by way of Wilfrid Laurier University, playing his first season for the Brantford Red Sox. And situations don't get much less favorable than this one, Brian. Got runners on the corners against a well-hitting team. Currently down 9-1, but a nice stress-free inning of work. We'll see if he can get something going here.
Well, I know this kid. I'm pretty sure he pitched for the Waterloo Juniors last year in the Elims. I saw him pitch last year, and he was overpowering at that level. And so I'm interested to seeing him throw against a guy like Connect in this Toronto lineup. So this is a really solid arm. This is a good pickup by Brantford. He's a young guy. I think he's only 22 or 23. Throws hard. Got a good secondary pitch, too, and that curveball and a hard slider. And I think his changeup looks pretty good, too, if my memory serves me.
Now, if I'm that Brantford dugout, I want my hitters to stay hot here because Carter Bettis, 2.7 ERA on the season, second best on the team, 7 strikeouts to 2 walks. He's done a good job limiting hits, especially limiting runs. Hasn't had many appearances in the season. He often comes in for just short, single-inning, middle relief appearances. But he's a guy I like in this spot with runners on the corners. And I think it is easy in this league, and especially if you're in a place where you're Brantford, 3-11. You probably came into tonight thinking it was going to be a tough one. But I want the hitters to make sure they're staying hot out there because, again, IBL, anything can happen. In 2025, I believe the Maple Leafs themselves had a, I think, 12-run differential go back the other way on them.
Absolutely, and you've got four at bats left in this game, and Alvarado's looked really good tonight. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work out for Smith. Like I say, if he could have given you at least 1, maybe 2 innings to keep it close, you give with the top of the order coming up to bat in the bottom of the 6th for Brantford.
That one finds the zone. First pitch, first strike for Carter Bettis and Marcus Connect. Remember, he's 1 for 3 today.
Well, super dangerous hitter, as we've alluded to a couple of times today. But Carter Bettis is a guy who attacks and pounds the strike zone.
That time he did, and that time it didn't work out. That one will go right by Bateman. Run will score. Connect will advance. Second single of the day. That one for an RBI.
Well, that one was a little bit up at the belt and gave Connect an opportunity to hit it the other way. If you're going to get it up, you got to get it in on the hitter, because if you get it out over the plate, then these guys at this level, they're just going to slap it through, especially in an RBI situation now. That's 20 RBIs on the season for Connect in about 13 games.
So Dos Santos, he scored on that one after walking earlier in the inning. Here comes Rando Moreno. He had a 3-run home run last time by. Had that massive blast out to the scoreboard in right field. Brody Black maybe having flashbacks seeing him back in the batter's box. That one chopped off the first base line. Bettis there, you said it just a moment ago, really likes the zone, really likes to force hitters to hit. Not a bad thing to happen when you're in a double play position like they were, but just didn't get the result they were looking for there from Connect.
Well, he got the ground ball, like I say, just the pitch was just a little bit up, and he's got to get it down. One thing he'll learn at this level is you don't, the difference between this level and pitching at a Limbs in 22U is that you don't get away with many mistakes at this level.
So Moreno, already 3 of those 10 RBIs are his doing. That one sent out back and foul, almost actually climbs the fence. And it'll come down. And an interesting point we talked about it. I don't know if you have any updates, Brian, but remember Sunday we were talking about the bat placement there, about balls in play with bats on the fence. Interesting to see less today, but still both teams, a couple guys leaving their extra bats out there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room in the dugouts. They're deep, but they're not the longest ones. So the bats tend to stay out there, and so I should have maybe checked that out before the game. You're right, and I apologize for that. I was going to check that out, never got an opportunity after Sunday's game. But just to find out what the ground rules are there.
2-2. That one popped up high over the head of Schmarter. Has yet to make a mistake on defense today. Doesn't that time. That one will come down, and Bettis finally that hit pitch to contact approach works to his favor. Moreno 1 for 4 now.
That was a real good pitch low on the outside corner there. And that's the difference between that pitch and the pitch to Connect, where it was down at the knees and he had to reach out for it, popped him up. Now we got 2 out, and Bettis looks pretty good, to be honest with you. Even though he gave up that hit to Connect, there's no shame in giving up a hit to a guy who's MVP candidate.
Morrow watches strike one, and you seem to have good taste in catchers so far this year, Brian. You're a big fan of Ibarra. He played great on Sunday, and today Justin Morrow has been making you look pretty correct.
Well, a former catcher myself, one of my favorite players growing up was Johnny Bench and Gary Carter, to be honest with you. So, I love the catchers. They're a different kind of breed on the baseball field.
Here's the 1-1 from Bettis. That one in the dirt, never really had a chance at the plate. 2-1.
They're always high IQ baseball guys, and they do yeoman's work behind the plate. And so, there's nobody on the field who values an at-bat more than a catcher because they do so much work defensively.
Good power. I don't know about the location. That one should go foul and will. Brody Black having a lot more movement out there on his side of the field. You called that perfectly pregame. All the balls that carry well seem to be heading out towards right field. Maybe that speaks to how many lefties this Toronto lineup has, but Takioka hasn't seen much work out there defensively.
No, you're right. I'm not sure he's out of play, to be honest with you.
That one chopped to third base, goes foul again. Caught well by somebody in the Brantford dugout. We were almost immediately proven wrong.
Yeah, I was just going to say. The pitch right after I say hasn't got one hit to him. Hips went out to left.
I think Takioka took maybe a half step to his right, but he's still gotten away with one of the most cardio-light outfield defensive performances I've ever seen. Justin Morrow, 2-2. That one struck well towards Black. Speaking of, can he get under that one? No, he can't. Goes foul once again. We're hitting that point in the night where the ball gets hard to track behind the trees as the sun is properly starting to go down here at Arnold Anderson.
Well, kudos to Bettis, too. He's really filling up the zone here and making a lot of good pitches. And the Toronto hitters are doing a great job fighting off these pitches.
Here's the 2-2, 2 outs. Bettis won't find the zone. He had a full count to start off his night tonight, and it'll be another one here. The gap again, 10-1 here as the Toronto Maple Leafs lead the Brantford Red Sox in the top of the sixth.
The runners will be off with this pitch.
There they go. That one's in the dirts. He'll load the bases will Carter Bettis, his first walk of his effort today.
And that's just a pro at bat by Mara. He fouled off how many pitches? 3 or 4 pitches. That was about an 8 or 9 pitch at bat. And just hung around long enough to get 4 balls and gets on base. And that's what kind of a pro Justin Mara is.
Well, that's back-to-back walks for Justin Mara. And for Spencer Ross, he's got back-to-back walks coming into this point, and he's already been here in this inning. Toronto's gone around the orders, so Ross will take his second cuts of the top of the sixth. That one low in the dirt again. Cassidy Watt having to really watch his placement as some of these balls from Bettis just not quite breaking as late as they need to.
Well, he's got a real live arm. It just explodes out of his hand when he throws. I really like this kid.
Ross doesn't go around on that one. Once again, won't find the zone. It's going to be Spencer McInnes up next after him, and Kaleo Shaw, should his services be needed. He's already been up to the plate a number of times today. Inside, lucky to not hit him as that will.
We've seen that in previous at-bats, haven't we? Ross, he doesn't flinch at all. That's
a good point.
That ball could come right at him. I'm pretty sure he wears that elbow guard.
Is it a second base thing, you think? Guys that are just so used to...
I don't know, but he's...
That one chops. Does go fair. Real lucky landing, but it will roll foul. I wasn't sure with the grass what that was going to do, but luckily for Bettis, does go foul.
Yeah, smart play there. Just let it go, and you had no chance to get an out, so just leave it alone and hope you can, hopefully the ball bounces foul for you.
So 2-2-2 reads the scoreboard. Bases loaded here for Spencer Ross. The only thing he's had yet to do today is record a hit, but a sac ground out that led to an eventual run and 2 walks. Yeah, again, we talk about a guy that has looked really good out there, Brian, at second base defensively, and you're providing value even if you're not doing it with the bat.
Absolutely, yep. And he's got on base a couple of times, so, productive at bats. Even this one here where he's had 5 or 6 pitches.
Bettis, that one sent off towards the third base line. Can't make a play on it for Savage. Takioka finally gets a chance at a play. He'll make the throw in, not to home, as 2 runs come in to score. Nice piece of hitting there from Spencer Ross. He's finally on the board, finds the gap next to Savage, and the lead is up to 12-1 for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, that's the third or fourth time that a Toronto hitter has knocked one just inside the bag along the line. So they aren't just putting the ball in play, they're putting the ball in spots. You know, that old line about hit it where they ain't. And they're doing a good job of that tonight. I thought that was a pretty good pitch. Up a little bit maybe, but the inner half of the plate. But Ross loves it. You know, you could tell the way he stands in there on those inside pitches. Ross loves the ball in. And I was a little surprised they didn't go breaking ball away there, considering that he really hasn't had much luck with those throughout the night.
Well, back up again to Spencer McInnes. He bunted and got on base for a single. That was that weird misplay where Schmarter couldn't quite get the ball onto his bare hand. He's back up again today. Actually, also another guy that has only provided value. McInnes today, sack single that led to a run, and bunt that got on base. Now he finds himself in a 2-0 hitters count. I want to talk to Carlos Verde whenever I see him. He's our Toronto Maple Leafs sort of correspondent here with the Red Sox, and a lot of really good talent here, Brian, at the bottom of the lineup. Just very mature ABs at the bottom, the 7, 8, 9 spots.
Tough, yeah, they give you a tough at bat every time they're up there, and I've been so impressed with a lot of them, to be honest. And you know, Mara it starts with Mara in the 5-hole, who always gives you a tough at bat. But Ross, Moreno, who's got a 3-run bomb, just up and down the order. I mean, they
Yeah, Shaw, I mean, has got on first 3 times today. Once was an RBI. Once
McInnes
was on
has
an
been
error.
on 3 times, I think, too, hasn't he?
Yeah, now he's been, 3 plus the sacrifice earlier. That was a walk there. That'll once again load the bases. And Carter Bettis seems to just be a curse here for these Red Sox pitchers in this 6th inning. Not the first time that this has been the particular inning that the bullpen has just hit a wall. And Bettis will stay in the game. See at least one arm. I believe it is just one, warming up in the Red Sox bullpen.
Yeah, as I alluded to on Sunday, you got to be careful about pitch count. You know, you don't want a guy throwing 35, 40 pitches.
Yeah.
Are we pinch hitting here? I think we are.
Believe so. New face, I think, coming in here. Number 14 is going to replace Kaleo Shaw, which is interesting. A guy that Kaleo Shaw, you know, those 9-spot hitters don't often get a chance to shine. He's 3 for 3 today. It would have been nice to see him maybe go for the perfect 4 for 4, but we'll get you an ID here on this new pinch hitter.
And I think a pinch runner as well. This is the point with a 12-1 in the 6th. This is the point where Rob Butler wants to get everybody in his bench in the game.
Yeah, so tough today with a lot of holdups there in traffic. A lot of these Maple Leafs players got here really late. Hasn't reflected in the way they've played, and some guys that maybe needed a little extra time to get warm, but they'll get their chance here. Still just looking for an ID. Benjamin Citarania is going to make his first appearance today, subbing in for Shaw. Goes around on that one, so they're going to call it
pinch runner on 2nd base, number 11. I'm not sure who that is.
We'll get you an ID here as soon as we can. Bettis finds the zone once again. Looking for his first strikeout today. Would be a great time for it to end the inning. That one low goes wild. The runner will come in, and that'll make it 13-1. Watt will trot over to it. Actually, kind of lucky another runner didn't go there. I think if the runner on third had really dug, that one was well off the plate.
Generally speaking, at 12-run now, 13-1, the runner will not attempt to score from second on a pass ball.
Alrighty. So now the 1-2 off that wild pitch that scores. That one fouled straight back of the netting. So 1-2, still 2 outs. The lead now 13-1 Toronto. A runner now vacates first, still second and third. That one chopped up over the head of the first baseman, and he'll make the play on it. Brody Black will finally end the top of the 6th. By my count, let me make sure I got the correct number. That was 9 runs in the top of the 6th.
7 runs on 4 hits, no errors, and 2 left on base.
Yeah, unfortunate there that Jackson Smith really couldn't get it done today. And, you know, and Bettis worked hard, to be honest. He threw a lot of strikes, but some really good at-bats.
Well, the Brantford home crowd is staying loud. Not many have left the venue. We've been in the middle of that very busy offensive blowout there from Toronto. But as the lineup comes back up, I think at this point, Brian, you get the top of the lineup back. Ethan Powell will make his third appearance today. And like I said with the hitters lower on, you just want to see upside. Get those big pop moments from guys like Palos and Takioka that have played great, maybe haven't showed power. Here's a great chance for them to make an impact.
I think I see a new pitcher in too. You can bet the two guys at the top of the order will be happy that there's a right-hander in.
Yeah, number 47 now going to come in for the Maple Leafs out of the bullpen. That'll end the day for Wilhelmus Alvarado, who, I mean, to sum up his performance, Brian, you go through 6 innings, 1 run. By my count, we got 5 strikeouts, and the rest is not really real hits. We have 4 hits, 3 singles, and a double, and a bunch of groundouts. He did an exceptional job pitching to just hopeless contact today.
Yeah, like I said, don't be fooled by the over 6 ERA, as I said at the top of the show. Don't be fooled by that ERA. This guy's a former IBL Pitcher of the Year, and one bad outing early in the season can give you that bloated ERA, whether you don't have it or bad luck or don't feel well or whatever it is that for whatever reason he get lit up on one. All pitchers get lit up at some point in time in their career. Even the ones in the Hall of Fame and the major leagues got lit up at some point. But when they show up and they, especially with the top of the order being such a real motor for the Brantford lineup, both being lefties. So now you see that a lefty starter against Brantford is a bit of a problem for them when they start off with those 2 lefties at the top of the order. So now we'll see. Now, in fairness, Paulus did get a hit, but Takioka didn't really look great in the 2 at-bats he had against Alvarado.
Still trying to figure out an ID on our new pitcher here, but something I just want to talk about, Brian. This is a big day for the Toronto Maple Leafs offense. I was kind of alluding to earlier, even in big wins, they just don't tend to have high-scoring run days. The last time they scored more than 7 runs was against Brantford on June 10th. But other than that, no more than 7 in their last 5 games. Now have 13 again today. They just seem to have something uniquely figured out against the Red Sox.
Well, it's the big inning, isn't it? I mean, they had the 8-run ninth last week. It was an 8-6 ball game, and they scored 8 in the ninth.
Right.
And then it's a 6-1 ball game, and they score 7 in the 6th.
It's going to be Matt Brown on the mound here to get your ID for the new face on the Maple Leafs mound. This is Ethan Palos back up for the 3rd time today. Single and a strikeout his day so far. See if we can find you some info on Brown. Sounds like he's a new face here to the Toronto Maple Leafs. 2 balls, I should say, on his first 3 pitches. That one goes in for a strike. Paolo's not a guy that tends to strike out much. He's 6 walks and 7 strikeouts coming into today. Had that one early. Holds off on the swing there. He's looking for his 7th walk.
Well, there isn't much of a flaw in his swing, to be honest with you. He's got such a beautiful swing.
3-1. That one wide. There you go. First walk of the day for a Brantford Red Sox hitter. And it's Palos. He'll take the free stroll down to first base, and here comes Takioka, guy that surprisingly today, no hits through the first 2 at-bats, struck out in the first, flew out in the 4th.
Well, and like I say, now he's got a righty to face. He throws hard, got a good live 2-seamer, nice slider.
First one in for a strike. Matt Brown, an Oakville, Ontario native. Came in earlier this season. Spent the last 2 years for the University of South Florida Bulls in the NCAA. That one low in the dirt. Having a tough time finding the zone. Watch Palos there. Now a 1-1 count. Still looking for some info. Does not have enough appearances this season, does Matt Brown, to register stats. He's 6'4", 240. That one fouled sent right to the first baseman. No shot at it, and the saddest double play ball you'll ever see.
That's that's really unlike. just kind of part and parcel of what's been going on here tonight at Arnold Anderson, to be honest with you. Everything that can go wrong has go wrong. Takioka absolutely hits one on the screws, but right at the first baseman on a rope, catches the line drive, one step to step on first base to double up Paulus.
So yeah, just to confirm, not enough appearances this season for Brown to register stats in the IBL database. So he'll be a mystery, but so far he's gotten away with one there on the double play. The location's been a question, but he finds strike one against Bateman here. That one low in the inside. Bateman out at even count. Grounded out in the first, had a big double in the fourth, the only extra base hit of the day so far for the Red Sox.
Yeah, he was one of the few that had no trouble handling Alvarado in the first half of this game.
Oh, right off the bat, just barely finds it. Doesn't barrel it, though. Now 1-2 on the foul ball.
I think that got a piece of the home plate umpire after he fouled that off.
Yeah, glad Nick Leffer's okay. Quick visit from Mr. Justin Mara there on the pitcher's mound.
That's decorum. When the umpire gets hit, the catcher will generally walk out and have a little chat with the pitcher while the umpire recovers.
Leffer
You young
resets.
catchers out there that are listening, make sure you do that. If the umpire gets hit, just take a moment to go out and see your pitcher, just to give the umpire a chance to get a breather, get himself collected.
I'd imagine few catchers in the league more familiar with the unwritten rules than a veteran like Mara.
Absolutely. Like I say, he's a pro.
All right, Bateman on the 1-2. One of the best bats in the lineup. We'll see what he's got. That one chopped over our heads. Off into the area of the concessions here at Arnold Anderson. Still a great turnout here. Everybody's sticking around more or less for this one, as the Maple Leafs may have built a solid lead, but the Red Sox offense showed off on Sunday. We'll see if they can come back here late. Can't on that one. That one's going to go in the dirt. Gives Bateman nothing to swing at. Now 2-2.
Well, Brown throws hard. That's probably low 90s there. We don't have a gun or anything, but my experience tells me that is very high 80s, low 90s, thrown pretty hard.
Inside on the hands. Lucky to not hit him. Full count now for Lucas Bateman.
Good live arm, too. There's a lot of movement to that fastball. Really rides in on the righty.
Full count. 2 outs. Here's a big pitch. That one sent straight at the shortstop. Doesn't even bounce. And a nice fielding play there by Moreno.
Well, I tell you what, the Red Sox are going to have to do some voodoo or something, because they've just been hitting everything on the screws, and everything Toronto hits is finding holes, and everything Brantford hits is hitting right at defenders. So that's part of what happens when you're down 13-1, is stuff just doesn't go right for you. So you try and take some positives away in games like this. It's very important, especially for a team like Brantford, who's just trying to, get going after a couple of rough years. And so, top three guys in the order, drew a nice walk, line drive. You come away with nothing.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you got to take that positive away. It looks like we've got another new pitcher for the Red Sox.
We'll get you an idea on him in just a moment when we come back. You're on Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube. We'll see you in just a few moments for the start of the top of the seventh.
Hard line drive up the middle. Whoa! Lindor out of nowhere. How did he do that?
That Lindor can play. I don't know about that hair. And don't get me started on those gloves.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
It's time for a revolution. The Ref 1X by Ronald.
Get ready, Hamilton. It's the 2025 IBL Home Run Derby and All-Star Game. Hosted by the Hamilton Cardinals at beautiful Bernie Arbor Stadium. Watch the league's top sluggers crush moonshots in the Derby. Then see the best of the best go head-to-head under the lights in the All-Star Game. Grab your tickets now at HamiltonCardinals.com, because this summer, the stars shine brightest in Hamilton.
And welcome back, live from Arnold Anderson Stadium in Brantford, Ontario. I'm Marshall Crocker, joined alongside me is Brian Howley, and we're your crew here for the Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube. We come back to you in one that, well, if you follow us on Instagram, maybe you check the Brantford Red Sox Instagram stories to see our score at the end of every inning. Maybe you're just tuning in now going, what the heck happened to that close ball game? 13-1 now the lead for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And as a result, we got a new pitcher on the mound, our fourth of the day, third out of the bullpen. It's going to be a new face, and it is going to be number 30, Mr. Jose Rodriguez. Say hello to the 35-year-old Toronto, Ontario native. He's a rookie to the IBL, but he hasn't seen much action thus far. 1 2/3 innings pitched, 5 walks to 3 strikeouts. His ledger so far on the young season.
I think we've had a couple changes defensively too as well, Marshall. It's a new catcher and
17, I believe.
Might be a new third baseman as well.
Yeah, we'll wait just a moment here to make sure we can get you some IDs. Got to see a number on the catcher there, but I know Torreson's had a couple shortcomings there at first. So top of the order once again. It's going to be the 5th time today for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ryan Dos Santos returns after walking in the 6th. Looking at number 17, which does not match a named player on the Red Sox roster, so completely new face here. Actually, that's Savage who's rotated in from 3rd. So a guy that we saw make 1 catch appearance early in the season, he's back today. That first one down into the dirt there for Dos Santos. He walked in the last at bat. Starts off well in this one.
Yeah, Savage caught for the team last Saturday in Guelph. Did a great job. Maybe it'll liven his bat up too after getting 3 hits that day.
Inside in the zone. It's going to be another ball here early for Jose Rodriguez. Making his 3rd appearance of the season. His first against Dos Santos. Behind Dos Santos going to be Javier. That one does finally find the zone. He's really trying that inside. Finally gets it to work there.
Yeah, he's an interesting pitcher. He's an older fella, 34 years old, from Toronto, ironically enough. He's got kind of a drop-down arm slot there. Not quite a 3/4, but not quite over the top.
The 2-1 inside. Think it catches him. I believe Dos Santos will say it does, and Leffler agrees. He'll take the walk to first base.
The only problem with that arm slot is that every once in a while you can kind of yank it glove side, and that was clearly the case there when he hit Dos Santos. So it really works well for the slider. You can throw it as hard as you like. It gets a nice sharp late break to it. But the one thing that makes it difficult, like I said, is that you tend to maybe yank it glove side, and that makes it hard on the legs of the left-handed hitters.
So 1 for 4 today is John Javier, the 3rd baseman. He'll take his 5th cuts of the day. Had a HBP and a single earlier. The first pitch well out of the zone. The runner will advance to 2nd, and Rodriguez can't quite find a spot on the outside. And I think something we got to talk about, Brian, I think you alluded to it earlier, but looking at the next 3 days, 3 games in 3 days for the Brantford Red Sox, it really hurts to be using this much of your bullpen, especially with 3 innings left.
Yeah, and you hope to get some kind of success out of the bullpen that you're using, so that you're able to, use less people for less pitches. So I think at this point it would surprise me to see really anybody come out for a 2nd inning. Maybe you just want to, because I think there's still some action in the bullpen there. Just try and get 1 inning each, and then these guys can all throw either tomorrow or Sunday.
The 1-0 similarly can't find the zone. Savage just came into the game at the defensive backstop position. He's really being tested early
Yeah, he's
on.
getting a workout back there already, and that was to my point, unfortunately, that he's really yanking glove side here. He's just got to get that arm up a little bit and back into his normal slot.
Here's the 2-0. That one, similar spot, just can't pick that bottom corner. Can't give a guy like Javier a 3-0 count, and here's the question: does he get the green light here to swing on 3-0?
Absolutely.
So runner on 2nd. Potential.
I'm not sure he's even going to ask, to be honest with you, Marshall. I'm sorry I to interrupt there, but I don't think he's even going to ask for a green light. I think if he sees one he likes, he'll jump all over it.
A rare day that John Javier only has 1 for 4. See what he does here, 3-0. That one up high, above his head, and John Javier will take the free walk to first.
Those were 4 uncompetitive pitches. So it didn't matter if he had the green light or not. He wasn't swinging at anything up that high. So I thought maybe Tyler Susie, the pitcher coach, was going to come out and have a little chat with him.
So Jordan Castaldo back up today. Had a 2 RBI single last time we saw him in the 6th. So strikeout, ground into a double play. That was a very nice defensive play made in the third. So a guy that very well could have been on base 3 times today, just the pair. Inside, finally does find the zone. Rodriguez is on the board, and Castaldo down 0-1.
He might have got a call there, to be honest with you. That looked a little bit into me, but I would like to see Savage just slide to the outside corner here. Just try and change that release point.
That one finally a good location, but fouled off towards third. Can't get under it for our new replacement third baseman. So Rodriguez kind of finally found a spot there, saw something with a little bit less movement, and now thanks to a missed swing, he's got an 0-2 here against one of the best in the league.
Yeah, he does throw hard. It's not easy to get Castaldo to be late on a fastball. So like I said, I would go take a shot at the outside corner here. If you want to throw the slider, that's fine. I would look at the outside.
The 0-2. That one, solid frame job by Savage, but a little too wide.
Castaldo's a veteran. He knows his own strike zone, and he knew that pitch was probably up a little bit as well.
Now 1-2 for Rodriguez, looking for his first strikeout of the effort. Inside, I think he hits him. He's having to walk that one off a little bit. Castaldo got spooked a little. He was hit by a pitch earlier today.
Yeah, that's the second time he's been hit. I think that's the fourth Leaf getting hit today, and probably should make a change here before guys start getting a little upset.
Yeah, you saw some visible frustration there from Castaldo, and I think that's a team-wide thing. You see too many of your guys getting hit. Do a quick count here. That is 4th HBP of the day, 2nd of the inning. So those add up, don't they, Brian?
Well, like I say, he struggled with that arm slot right from the word go, and unfortunately wasn't able to get an out. And so, to your point earlier, you're looking at a 13-1 game, and now you're working on your 5th pitcher, and you still don't have anybody out in the 7th inning. So clearly it's for all of the good things that are happening here in Brantford, the batting order looks pretty good. They're getting depth in the hitting. The starting pitching has been pretty good. Irvine was good. Armitage was good.
Yep.
Arbach
was solid.
Arbach was okay, especially for the first, like I said, he gave up a lot of base runners, but was getting out of innings without getting, hammered too bad. But, clearly the one area that could really use some improvement with this Brantford club is they need to get some depth in the bullpen. They've got Dos Santos, who gave them 2 good innings in Guelph last Saturday. And this is not a game where you're going to use them. They've got Guelph tomorrow, and so, you'd like to see their best guys tomorrow. We made the point earlier about the fact that, Guelph's a team that you really want to go after.
Yeah.
And get ahead of them in the standings. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be Armitage on tomorrow and then Irvine on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so, this is, you just get through this one best you can. Bring somebody in that's going to throw some strikes, put the ball in play, get the 9 outs you got left, get through tonight, and then go at it again tomorrow and really charge at it and try and get a win in Guelph.
Now joining the game, it's number 11, Crawford Passy, going to come here out of the bullpen. Waterloo, Ontario native, went to the U of Waterloo. This is now his 2nd season with the Red Sox. Comes in a less than favorable position. Bases loaded here after that HBP, that hit by pitch to Jordan Castaldo. And he's got Marcus Connect, a gentleman who's 2 for 4 today, and our player to watch. Not the first name I'd pick to see as a reliever, but we'll see what he can do. Passy, as you mentioned, just got to put balls in the strike zone, and the rest will go from there.
Yeah, I think we got a pinch hitter up.
I believe that's number 19 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll get you an ID here in just a moment. Passy's first of the day, just a little bit too close to the inside on the hands for ball 1.
Bear with us, folks. We didn't get a lineup card from the Leafs tonight, so we're hitting the phones hard here to try to identify all these players, and that makes it a little more difficult when they're going to empty their bench tonight.
The 1-0 from Passy. That one chopped just foul, just misses third base, and that was a chance at 2 more. The runner on second even got a good lead there. taking a look here quickly around the league. We'll have a quick mound visit between Savage and Passy. Hamilton currently up 8-6 against the Kitchener Panthers. Elsewhere around the league, Welland and London. Just want to make sure this is still correct. Yes, through the top of the 7th, still scoreless between the top 2 teams in the IBL. So, Welland and London. I think that speaks to, the true high-level pitching talent. Both the starters still in that game, and that's scary. Any team that can hold any other team, especially a team like Welland and London, respectfully, to no runs through 7 that's a tall task in today's IBL.
Well, that's an interesting matchup because you've got the 2 top teams in the league hitting and the 2 top teams in the league pitching, and so a nothing ball game. That is a lot of fun to be a part of.
Finally, get you an ID here on our pinch hitter for Toronto. That is Del Banning. He's going to be hitting 200 and even 200 on the season. 35 at-bats, so big sample size, 7 hits, 2 home runs on his season so far, 8 RBIs, and then a 2 walk to 15 strikeout ratio for Dennis Day Banning.
He's got a big power swing. I remember him with the Hamilton Cardinals in years past.
He's got 3
Not a high average
pitches.
guy, but he's got a ton of power.
The 2-2 from Passy. That one's chopped right at Schmarter for 1. No, bit of a stumble, won't make the second. Bateman just a bit of a stumble there on second base.
Well, a bit of a slow roller as well. That was a tough double play ball. Did well to get the lead runner at second base. And the first out of the inning. So a good pitch there, a good sinking pitch on the fastball. Gets the ground ball, but he got such soft contact they couldn't make the double play happen. Schmarber playing a little bit deep there, I noticed, with a double play situation with the bases loaded.
So here's Rando Moreno. That 3-run home earlier today. The comebacker right at Passy, who will get it to second. Oh, it'll go by. Bateman can't, or Schmarter, pardon me, can't quite make that play on second base. That's one that,
well, that's so
as a coach, it's
frustrating
tough.
when you talk about a pitcher who can throw the ball 60 feet, 6 inches into a tight little zone the size of a pie plate and then can't execute a throw to a base. And I'm not picking on this particular pitcher. It happens all the time to pitchers at all different levels, that every once in a while they just, with an opportunity is there, because that was a tailor-made double play ball. We saw the same play with Arback in the 3rd or 4th inning where they executed the double play, and that was a tailor-made one. So unfortunate that Schmarber couldn't at least squeeze that and get the out at second to get the second out of the ball game.
So here's Mara back up for the 4th time today. Pair of walks on the ledger for him.
Must be the only catcher they have here tonight. I'm surprised Mara's still in the game.
Here's the 1-0 from Passy. Runners on 1st and 2nd. Wide off the plate. Ball 2. Spencer Ross and Spencer McInnes will come back up here should we need them in the rest of the top of the 7th. The lead now 15-1 Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's a great big lead at second base for the situation there.
Yeah, no defender covering second. No need at this point. Is that one just a little bit too high? I think Leffler had a tough call there. Goes the way of the batter. Great day so far for Mara. Let's see what he can do here. Talk about that green light.
Yeah, another situation where he's probably swinging if it's a strike.
That one going to be popped up, though. Might get away with this one. Up into the crowd.
Right back at us.
Comes down. Luckily, Will missed the crowd here at Arnold Anderson, but did hit a seat. So
that's the one empty seat in that row that it landed in. Luckily for the people in the front row there.
That ball in about 10 feet in front of my own parents. So that one could have been a scary situation here in a ball game that's already out of hand. But
well, that would be one they'd remember for a long time.
I bet. Great loyalty here by the fans here at Arnold Anderson. The only reason that was that scary is because so many have stuck around here in this one. The 3-1. That one finds a strike zone. Is popped up. He's pointing to Bateman. Comes down, gets the out. Second out of the top of the 7th, finally recorded. So that was Mara on the pop-up. Spencer Ross comes into this one. 2 walks on the day. Had a 2 RBI single in that very busy 6th inning.
Yeah, I think he was on base twice in the 6th inning alone, wasn't he?
True. True, it gets hard with the scoring sheet. Trust me, when a batter, as I'm scoring this game, comes up 3 times in 2 innings, it's hard to find paper spaces. That one sent straight towards Schmarter. Can he get it to first? Yes, he can. Trust Schmarter in those plays. If anybody can make a solid throw to first to finally end an inning, Schmarter's a good guy to have in that spot. So
pretty slick set of mitts out there at shortstop. Absolutely. When you're looking for positives, that's certainly one where Schmarber has made some really nice plays out at short. And even a couple of nice plays that he wasn't able to get an out on, he still was nice plays to flag them down.
Had that error there, that weird bobble in the glove earlier, but it's one of those things where the reaction time to get to the ball in the first place is the only reason you have that error. So that's one of those things I think we talked about, on Sunday. I can't remember if it was on the air, but about the idea that certain plays look better from a fielding perspective because a player is so athletic. To have an error like that with the glove on the throw, well, if that's a ball that's going past you, as it would have been to Takioka if it was any other shortstop, that's one that, is tough on the ledger. So it's good when he can finally get those easy opportunities. And if we just let the infielders who have been so good defensively this year, I know we've had a couple mistakes from the guys on the corners and Torsen and Savage today, but the Brantford defensive infield has really been steadfast. And the only problem for the bullpen is they're not really pitch to contact guys. They do tend to find they tend to struggle finding the strike zone, and when they do, they're a little predictable. And I think we've seen that today, Brian, is these relievers. They're easy to time up, they're easy to barrel up, and other teams are punishing them. We're seeing once again from the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, there's just too many base runners out there, and a lot of that, I think they've walked 6 and hit 3 or 4 more.
4, yeah.
And so that's a better part of 10 base runners on there without hits. And that's just too many at this point. At this level, you really have to work on that. And so Armitage on Sunday, no problem. I think he walked 3 guys all day. Irvine was dominant for 7 innings in Guelph on Saturday. De Los Santos only faced 7 hitters, I think, in 2 innings. So at the end of the day, that's so important at this level, and I think I referred to it earlier, where at this level, these guys are pros. These guys are pros, man. And if you're going to give them free at-bats, if one hit can create 2 runs, then you're just making it too easy on the opposition. So, like I said, there's a bit of a soft underbelly to the Brantford team. There's a lot of good things going on here,
right.
But that bullpen has got to be an area where General Manager Jeff Lounsbury, I'm sure, is out beating the bushes looking for arms to shore up that bullpen so that he can turn it over from his starter in the 5th, the 6th, the 7th inning, get them to the end of the game without, giving away the store, as it were. So.
Well, as we head back to the Brantford side of the order in the bottom of the 7th inning stretch comes to a close, and it's Christian Ortega. Sight for sore eyes here from an offense that hasn't got much going today.
And
He's
he
a guy that
crushed one last time up right to dead center field. Shaw was, I think his back was up against the fence when he caught it.
Matt Brown sends that one to Ortega, who pops it up. Heads up here. I don't know where that one came down, to be honest.
That one may not have come down. That one way up there. You got a guy throwing 90 and a guy who can hit it 400 feet. That ball goes a long way up in the air. Those are major league level pop-ups.
So quick scoring update. It was Zach Lamprey there that ended the inning last time by for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He subbed in there for Spencer Ross, who had a great day out there on defense and on offense, to be fair. So Ortega looking at a 2-1. Still Matt Brown on the mound. That one inside on the hands again. Brown struggling to find that spot on the inside.
Well, and you can see Ortega, who is not holding up on that swing. This is an opportunity. We talk a lot of times about having team at bats. This is not one of those times. This is the one where you see a fastball, you jump on it.
3-1. Ortega sends that one in the gap. Shortstop does get a glove on it, doesn't make the throw, similar to what we saw with Schmarter, and Ortega's on first base. Cassidy Watt will be the next hitter up, a guy who, again, we talk about him a lot. We talk about his power upside. We'd love to see it here because he's got a ground out and a pop-up on the day.
Well, here's a guy with a ton of power who has not had the batting average, but he's kind of a stereotypical 5 hitter. You like to see a little higher average out of him, but
Right.
He's got the big power. He's the guy that can turn your single numbers into crooked numbers in an inning.
That one sent straight up. That should be in catcher range for Mara.
Oh, no, they're fighting.
Oh, nobody claims it. Finally, a piece of good luck, but they'll still get the out with Ortega not taking the lead there on first. Those are weird plays. Those are always one, I think, in baseball that should reward more for the offense. But
yeah, that's unfortunate. Ortega can't go anywhere with a pop-up to the infield. but I'm not sure if Brown called it, but I want to say this as nicely as possible, but the last thing we want our pitchers doing is catching pop flies.
Right.
You know, that's a play for the third baseman to make.
He calls it immediately. You saw Mara didn't even really look at the play. He thought it was kind of
Well,
a
that's
deal. And then
certainly
he was the
not a
closest guy
catcher's
there.
play because he's got the equipment on. He's going the wrong direction. That's a third baseman's play. The pitcher loves to be part of the defense.
Hit by pitch there. Brown will hit that one right on the squarely on the back of number 19. That's a substitute there. Would be on that hit. So we'll find out who just got hit in the back. As Andrew Savage comes back in the ball game, started today as a third baseman, now takes this at bat as the catcher.
Man, we've had a lot of guys getting hit by a pitch tonight, haven't we? Is that 6 now?
Yeah, two by way of Brantford, 4 by way of Toronto. That's Josiah DeVaplin now subbed in. He subbed in for Matt Torsen and immediately got hit by a pitch on his first at bat.
Been enjoying watching Savage hit. I really like his swing. It stays a long time in the hitting zone. He's got a good swing plane. Stays back nicely on the ball.
Oof. Lucky that didn't catch him. Dangerous location there on Savage.
Brown throws real hard, I tell you what.
You'll see a little bit of velocity from a reliever. Just wakes the whole crowd up. It's the 1-1. Chopped foul again. They're timing him up well. They can find the ball. They just can't barrel it. As Savage now in a 1-2 spot. Brown, a good day so far, but no strikeouts. The last one recorded was earlier in the game in the 5th.
Which was Alvarado, I think, right?
Right. That one chopped right at the third baseman. Great glove play there to get it to second. No double play. Almost got it, though, at third. That ball gets dropped, but a weird moment there, Brian, as he seemed to just overcommit running past third.
Well, it's a fake play that is pretty common. I saw it earlier in the day when Bateman did it as well, where you get the throw at second, get the force out, opportunity for a double play, knowing you're not going to get it. You fake a throw to first base to see if you can draw the runner at third off the base, and it almost worked there.
So another substitution here. Jeremy Vea now in for Brody Black, so he'll sub in the right field spot the rest of the day. Good for Brody Black. He had a busy day out there in the outfield. Had that one absolute textbook catch there and the over-the-wall highlight reel in the 4th, but then watched a couple, specifically the Moreno home run, go over his head.
Yeah, there wasn't much he could do about that, but what a play in the 4th inning there. I had an interesting look at it. You were interviewing Kathy in the 4th inning there, and I was watching it out to the left, and he got a perfect view of him bouncing off the fence as he caught it. What a nice play. I hope we got a good replay of that and send that into the league for a play of the week candidate.
Matt Brown, man, he's got velocity, but almost caught the back of Ayu there again.
Yes, absolutely no problem throwing inside, this fella.
It's a lot of good movement. It's stuff that looks like it's a no-doubter to hit the batter. 3-0, 4-0, 4 ball. Ooh. All right. I was doing the ump job there myself. I apologize, but 3-1 and a ball that I think Vayu thought was pretty well and clear low. 3-1. And doesn't matter. Doesn't go around. Stays inside. Vayu will take the free walk to first base. Base is loaded here for the Brantford Red Sox. 14's a lot of runs, but not the end of the world. All right, so another substitution here for the Red Sox. I believe I'm still in the correct spot in the lineup. This is Lucas Lefebvre coming in for, should be Max Schmarter, so he should be subbing in at shortstop, which would be the first time we've seen a new face there at the 6th spot in, I think, since the home opener, if I'm not mistaken. That one in for a strike.
Schmarber's been there every game over the last couple of weeks, that's for sure.
So 2 in the zone for Brown, 2 outs in the inning. Could end the 7th here. No, it doesn't on that one. Was close, but Lefebvre's going to call him high and outside. Lefebvre looking at 1 and 2.
Sorry, Marshall. Sure, I would like to see a hit here, a couple of runs, give the folks who are sticking it out a chance.
Swing and a miss. That'll record the out there. Brown finally on the board with his first strikeout of the day to end the 7th. It's starting to go away from them, but just the same way that those in attendance are sticking around. We thank those of you for sticking around on Brantford Red Sox IBL Baseball. We're going to be up to the top of the order once again for the Brantford Red Sox, and like I said, water tends to find its level. I think Paulos and Bateman got more in the bats, and hopefully we'll see that later. But we'll be back in just a moment. We'll take a quick break, and we'll see you momentarily on Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube. Alrighty. Those of you watching at home, welcome back to Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube. I'm Marshall Crocker alongside Brian Hawley. Everybody say hello to Jorge De Los Santos. Number 37 will make his appearance today in relief. To my count, the 6th pitcher to appear today, either 5th or 6th. Just an update on the out-of-town games for tonight. That scoreless effort I was talking about between Welland and London. Well, it was scoreless in the top of the 7th. It wasn't in the bottom. Still in the bottom of the 7th there. London's finally on the board up 1-0. So top 2 teams in the league, that gap coming down a little bit. And only 8 hits in that one, but 3 errors, uncharacteristic from teams that tend to do a good job making the easy plays.
Yeah, this has been a hard night on the Brantford bullpen, obviously, and you can bet that manager Jeff Lonsbury didn't want to use De Los Santos tonight. The possibility of using him each of the next 2 games this weekend.
So just to make a correction, I was trusting that we may have had a new face. A lot of pitchers with similar names here in the Brantford Red Sox bullpen. It's Jorge De La Cruz coming in, not to confuse him with Pedro De Los Santos, who I initially thought was pitching and would have been a little bit skeptical. I think he's the exact guy we talked about earlier, Brian. We don't want to see having to use unnecessary innings. Jorge De La Cruz will instead be coming in the 8th.
And I hope he doesn't take offense to this, but it looked like De Los Santos lost a little bit of weight since I saw him last weekend. This fella's a little bit smaller than he is.
I was checking my numbers. I'll be honest, I didn't look. But, yes, De Los Santos, very different build, but a very effective, very efficient build.
I like watching him pitch, to be honest with you. He gets up there, throws strikes, throws hard, goes right at guys. I really like that, and that's what you want to see in your pitcher. If they're gonna get hits off you, so be it. But these walks and these hit batsmen, that's something that you want to try and avoid. Stop giving up the free bases.
De La Cruz, relative unknown, comes into today once again. One of those pitchers has not made the designated number of appearances to have his stats scored on the IBL site. So Savage out there, still catching. We got the order swapping over here, so trying to keep up with where we've gotten in the order. I believe this should be Ryan Dos Santos up again, but we've had so many substitutions here at the end of the order for Toronto. Big swing and a miss there. Good start here for De La Cruz. 2 early pitches, both competitive and both missed and whiffed.
Yeah, it's been kind of tough to keep up with the Joneses here with all the new faces coming in seemingly every other at bat, all the defensive changes.
So this is going to be McInnes, who, to correct, we're a little bit back down the order. Spencer McInnes, number 22, is still up in this one. I got to say, if there was ever a game to get the lineup card about 10 minutes before the game, this is the hardest one, Brian. We've had a lot of guys come in substitution, and McInnes, he was the DH. He's still in today. Been on base 3 times. That one almost catches him up high. 3 times today he's been on base. He bunted for a single, hit for another. walked and had a sack single in the other. So again, I've talked about it all game, but these guys that are at the bottom of the order making themselves valuable in other ways than just with the bat.
One thing I noticed about McInnes, he runs like a gazelle. Man, he's fast.
Doesn't need to that time. He'll get the free pass to first base. And next up will come, I believe, Kaleo Shaw, but I believe he may have been subbed for earlier in the game. So
Number 14, Benjamin Sidorinios.
it's going to be Sidorinios back up. He subbed in for Kaleo Shaw earlier on in this effort. So Jorge De La Cruz comes into today with no innings pitched, or at least no batters retired. 2 strikes, 4 balls. The count for him so far.
This is his debut then, is it?
Should be. It's hard to tell. The IBL website seems confused. He's either pitched 1 game, didn't record it out, but that doesn't seem to track with what I'm seeing. So should then be the debut here for De La Cruz. And like you talked about, Brian, seeing some new faces today. You're really just looking for new personnel, guys to give new opportunities to. What are you seeing so far from him through
well, he throws hard. He might, if this is his debut, that's a nice-looking slider, good depth to it, turns it over real nice. That's what you're looking for in a slider is depth. You don't want it to go sideways because they can still put the bat on it. When you throw it hard, and that is a low 80s hard diving slider. Looks like he's throwing low 90s. Good looking arm. He looks like he's maybe just overthrowing a little bit, and that might like if it's debut, sometimes the jitters.
The 2-1. That one finds the zone. 2-2 there.
Especially in a game like this at 15-1, you think that the umpire's not going to make a fool of himself, but he will expand the zone a little bit to try and facilitate outs.
Sidorinios 0 for 7 so far on the season. Big swinging and a miss there. First of the day for Jorge De La Cruz. Comes in. First game. Had a walk there on that first at bat, but he come back with a strikeout. Not bad.
Yeah, he was overpowering in that at bat. He was a little too much for that hitter. Now we're back to the top of the order, and we'll see how he looks against the meat of the order.
Well, the meat of the order has changed over a little bit. This is going to be Ryan Dos Santos, John Javier. But then it's a gentleman by the name of Carrington who is subbed in for Castaldo in the 3rd spot. First one, once again, back in there for a strike. And
yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier as we expanded the zone a little bit. That pitch was a bit up.
2 ground outs, a walk, and a hit by pitch for Dos Santos. Still no real hits. The wild pitch goes. I think the runner on first had an opportunity, but you're late in the ball game, Brian. I think you just park the bus on that one.
You know what? You have to take the base there. I mean, you have to play the game, but I understand what they're doing. They're not too worried about moving up bases. But if it goes back to the backstop, you should probably take the base. If one skips away from the catcher a few feet and it might be contested, that's probably one you'll stick around on.
Actually, wouldn't have minded to see Watt with the defensive throw to second there. I don't think he's really had an opportunity in the games I've seen him catch. That one, once again, a little bit of vertical movement, and it fooled Dos Santos, who's still yet to get on the board today with a proper hit. 1-2.
Yeah, that looked. There was a little more movement to that fastball than maybe he's throwing a 2-seamer as well as a 4-seamer. I'm not sure.
The 1-2.
Check that.
Comfortably goes around, and
wow. That was overpowering as well. It's been a pretty impressive start. That slider's nasty. He gets good depth to it, and it's still low to mid 80s.
So John Javier comes up. Now 2 outs in the inning for his side. Great debut here for De La Cruz.
Just seems so strange. They score 15 runs, and I'm not sure Javier, does he even have a hit? I don't think he's got a hit.
Has one, had a single in the 5th inning,
but didn't score, right?
Didn't score. No, hit by pitch. Walked. Yeah, sorry, pardon me. He did score. He was one of the 3 on the Moreno 3-run shot.
Oh, fair enough.
De La Cruz. He's got a really violent windup there. The way that he really gets into the release. It's fascinating how much he contorts.
He puts a lot of stress on that elbow, and you could see there where his arm got it. He was a little too quick that time, where his arm gets behind him a little bit, and that's usually when you miss arm side.
The 1-0.
That is a nasty slider, I'm telling you.
Got Javier there, one of the best in the league when you can get a
when you get a swing like that out
from
of the
best
guy
average in
leading
the
the league
league.
in hitting, you know it's a nasty pitch. So, like I said, you take positives away from anywhere you can in this game because it is the most humbling game on the planet, and therefore, got him again with it.
Javier looking visibly frustrated. The body language there, he's not happy, and I think it is going to be fascinating, Brian, to walk away from this one, we assume with a big win. These top of the order guys you'd expect to be the reason for it just haven't come up big today. And I think Javier, a guy that only one single on the effort, similar to Dos Santos. You just want that big swing, that signature hit of the day. And Dos Cruz to go an even 2-2.
Cruz was headed to the dugout. He thought he had his strikeout there, but it was a little bit up. I think with all these sliders, maybe it's time for that two-seamer in. See if you can jam him here.
The 2-2 could end the inning.
There
And
it
it will. 3 strikeouts in his debut inning.
Every once in a while we get it right, Marshall.
Yeah,
I thought that was a
absolutely
great
do.
idea. Made him look sick on 2 outside sliders, and so that's a good time to hammer him inside with that two-seam fastball that rides in on the right-handed hitter.
It's hard to think of the idea of an exciting 8th inning when you're down 15-1, but we talked about you just want to see some upside from a reliever.
Absolutely.
And Dos Cruz has it.
Definitely. Honestly, I would not bring him back out for the 9th, even though it sped the game up a little bit. I would like to see him throw again this weekend. If he can, he didn't throw a lot of pitches there, probably through low 20s, I'm guessing. So if he, like I said, tomorrow's a big game. Tomorrow's a huge game.
Huge game.
And so an arm like that, I would like to see that arm be available for tomorrow, to have De Los Santos and De Los Cruz both available out of the bullpen tomorrow.
Well, we're getting to the late stages of this one, so I'll do a little bit of housekeeping here as we get ready for the bottom of the 8th here live from Arnold Anderson. As we get ready, I'm going to give you a little bit of housekeeping. We'll tell you where to look for the rest of the weekend here for the Brantford Red Sox. As don't forget, this is game 1 of a triple header for your Red Sox. Tomorrow night, 7:30 start time, live from Hastings Stadium in Guelph. They're playing the Royals in one of 2 games tomorrow. The Chatham-Kent Barnstormers and Barrie Bay Cats. That game that was supposed to be at Fergie Jenkins, that will get did get postponed earlier tonight. They'll play tomorrow, and that'll be the makeup game. And then it's going to be Brantford Guelph. I believe that one also a makeup from earlier on when we had that few weeks of really bad weather. So that's a massive one there, Brian. And then one that maybe they're not looking forward to so much if you're the Red Sox. You maybe don't have circled the London Majors, who tonight currently beating the league best Welland Jackfish 1-0. It's going to be a tough one. It is going to be on the road, but the Red Sox have an opportunity for a big upset. That's a 1:05 p.m. start time on Sunday.
Well, in Irvine throwing on Sunday, it was probably their best starter.
One of the best in the league, even.
You would think that London's best starter threw tonight against Welland, especially at home on a Friday night.
Would assume so.
Which is their regular home date. So, the pitching matchup, and then, this Cruz kid, if he's available late in the game, they're set up for success. It's not an easy park to hit in. I'm actually going to be there tomorrow night with my 22U team. Tomorrow evening at Labatt Park. It is one of my favorite parks in all the world, that's for sure. The history there, it's the way it's manicured, the way it's taken care of. It's just a great place to play ball.
The IBL full of awesome ballparks like that with plenty of great stories.
One of my favorite moments in baseball was with the Kitchener Panthers 2 years ago, playing the London Majors in the playoffs. 2,000, 2,500 people in the stands. Good ball games, good close ball games, and then I never forget we were tied 1-1 in the 7th, and Marcel Lacasse hits a grand slam off the scoreboard, and we won the game 5-1, which was huge for us. That put us up 2-1 in the series. So just a great place to play ball, and I can't wait to play there myself tomorrow night, and then to watch the Brantford Red Sox take on the London Majors on Sunday afternoon.
So this is Deska, Marek Deska in relief here. Third pitcher of the day for the Maple Leafs, and they have been steadfast. A 3 ERA on the year for Deska. Has pitched 3 innings, but has 4 strikeouts in those 3 innings. Now a 2-2 count against Paulos. That one struck a little bit better. Out straight towards center field, though. Shaw should be under it. Makes that one pretty comfortably, and first out of the inning, that is actually Sidoreno there, who is, I think, subbed in at first. I got to be honest, defensively, the Maple Leafs have substituted so much that could be anybody on the roster out there at center field, but it was a comfortable catch.
Another pinch hitter here.
Graham Tebbett going to come in here. He's got pretty good tenure on the season. We've seen plenty of him. I believe it was a late substitution in the Father's Day effort against Kitchener.
Yep, he's a veteran.
That one low, but just inside the zone for Deska. Tebbett 4 for 19 on the season, so he's hitting .210. Only 1 RBI. Big, tall guy, though. Tall stance, tall zone. We'll see if Deska can adjust to that after Palos.
Interesting delivery from Deska. He just kind of walks right into it.
The 0-2 here. Tebbett pinch hitting for Takioka. That one chopped up and foul.
Doesn't throw real hard. He throws a lot of sliders, though. He's got a good active slider, nice depth to it, as I've spoken to before.
Here's the 0-2. That one going to be sent straight towards the shortstop. Moreno will settle under it. And he'll make the quick play to first. Nice catch there from Sideranos. Second out of the bottom of the 8th.
Interesting sidearm delivery on the throwovers from Moreno there. I saw that earlier in the game. Reminds me of their last shortstop, Benicio. He did that a lot too, dropped down to the side when he threw across the diamond.
So here's Lucas Bateman. That one sent right back at the netting. Bateman 1 for 3 on the day, but that one was a double. Currently the only extra base hit by the Red Sox in this effort. So Deska, good ratio here. 8 strikes to only 2 balls in his first inning of work. That one will find the zone. He's doing a really good job placing that ball low. Hitter's got to really be looking towards the dirt.
Yeah, I think he started for them in the past, Deska, to be honest with you. I seem to recall him being used as a starter at one point in his career.
So Bateman will maintain his .333 average today, 1 for 3 so far. Remember, 7 RBIs on the season for him. 5 walks to 7 strikeouts, his ratio. Well, they'll give that to him. I think I haven't seen that many players unanimously start heading to the bullpen, to the dugout all at the same time, but he'll get another chance. Bateman will stay alive 2-2 here.
Little presumptive there from Mara, usually not appreciated by a home plate umpire.
I know you said you've been in baseball a number of years, but you said you've never umped, right? You have a lot of coaching experience. You did.
Yeah, I umpired in this league for about 6 years back in the 90s.
That one right up in the air. A bit of an awkward one again. Somebody's got a call for that. Oh, my goodness. A full roll. I hope that fielder's okay out there. It gets a tap, so should be, but another one of those plays. The only real mistake you keep seeing from the Maple Leafs is calling custody of fly balls. Weird moment there.
Having said that, they are making all the plays defensively tonight. Yes, I umpired for several years. When I umpired in this league, it wasn't called the IBL. It was just called Senior Intercounty. There was no Welland. There was no Barrie. It was just the intercounty teams. Stratford had a team then. St. Thomas had a team then.
Oh, there you go.
What were they called? The something Cats. Wildcats, something. Tomcats. That's what they were.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what they were called. And actually, that's when I first met Dino Ramel. You know, usually in a blowout, it's usually story time. So when I was umpiring in the league, it was in the, I want to say, the early to mid-'90s. And Dino Ramel was in the league, still managing the Guelph Royals in those days. He's still around.
Right.
And I remember we used to go up every year to Sarnia to umpire in a tournament. It was called the Gold Bat. It was a 19U kind of juvenile, they called it then. Tournament with some really, really good teams, including a team from Springfield, Ohio, which showed up wearing shorts. They played in shorts. And so this was they called it the Gold Bat. And when you went to 5 straight, they gave you a keychain that was actually a brass gold-colored bat as a memento for going up there. They would put us in a hotel room. They'd feed us, paid us well. It was really a great experience as an umpire. And you worked with some of the best of the guys. I worked with some guys that worked with Joe Brinkman back in the major leagues. I worked with a guy, Gord Fessenden from Kitchener, who did a lot of D1 Florida college stuff over the winter. So it was a great experience. So anyway, we finished that tournament off, and we had to stop in St. Thomas on our way home from Sarnia for the last game of the season. Now, this particular season, there were 4 teams tied for first place. It was Guelph and Stratford, and London, I think, was one of them.
Right.
Anyhow, Guelph is in St. Thomas, and St. Thomas was the worst team in the league by a mile. I think they had 2 or 3 wins all year. But for whatever reason, Guelph can't get it together. They're up 2-1 in the 8th. There's 2 on and 2 out, and there's a shot down the first base line by St. Thomas. My partner calls it fair. 2 runs come in to score. St. Thomas takes a 3-2 lead, and I can see Dino with smoke coming out of both ears, and he comes walking in front of the plate. My partner just starts walking out toward the outfield along the baseline. Every step that Dino took toward him, he took 1 step backwards, and he's yelling at him, Dino, don't follow me out here, Dino, don't follow me out here. So Dino got about 3/4 of the way to first base, and he's still 100 feet away from my partner, and he just, don't follow me out here, Dino, I'm telling you. So he stops, turns on a heel, and he gets right in between home plate and the pitcher's mound. And I can't tell you exactly what he said, but he said it real loud. I hate dealing with you guys from Stratford. He didn't say guys, so I had to throw him out. And I remember I was just a rookie in the league at that time. I was maybe 25 years old, 26 or something like that. Well, it's a nice pitch, boy. That is a nasty slider that he's throwing.
That's still De La Cruz, 4th strikeout of the day.
So I throw him out of the game, and I say to myself, that's the first time I've thrown a senior manager out. I wonder if he's going to. Yep, here he comes, and sure enough, Dino got in my face. The mask is off now, and he's yelling at me. I've been screwed over by guys, been in the league a lot longer than you, doing the full manager thing, firing up his team. You know, it's just business. I don't take that personally. But I stopped him right in mid-rant because he had a mouthful of seeds.
Oh, yeah?
And they were bouncing off my chest as he's yelling at me. And every time he used a word that started with an F, it was bouncing off my chest, sunflower seeds. So I stopped him. I said, Dino, hold on 1 second. He says, what? And I put my mask back on. I said, you're killing me with the seeds. He was, okay, carry on. And I remind him of that speech. He remembers that game, to be honest with you. When I was up there a couple of years ago in Guelph and we were playing him, I asked him if he remembered. I said, do you remember that game in St. Thomas? He said that he did. And he said that was the most amazing year because, like I said, going into the last day of the season, it was a 4-way tie for first place.
That's wild.
And they lost to St. Thomas, who had only won 3 games all year, and it cost them first place.
Can never take a day off in the sport, can you?
You can never take a day off in the IBL, that's for sure.
Well, those of you that were keeping an eye on the background there, great catch by Schmarter. That was Dave Banning, who was retired on the great reactive play there from the always steady Max Schmarter. And here is Rando Moreno, the only guy in the top 5 that is still hitting in the same spot. Moreno is had 5 attempts today, no hits other than his 3-run home run. That one just foul, off towards right field. Black's got to go all the way to go get that one. And Jorge De La Cruz, we talked about earlier, maybe not a guy you want to see back. Maybe you want to give him a chance to pitch again against London, but he's got the pitch count low. Ratio 18 strikes to 13 balls, but 4 strikeouts and 2 innings of relief. That's double what our starter had today. So
he's been dominant. What a great, if this is a debut, what a debut, man. This is a great arm that they picked, and did he get a piece of that? No, he didn't. That's 3 out.
Holy cow, 5th strikeout.
What did you say, 32 pitches? He can pitch tomorrow if he needs to, you would think. I personally would have no problem using a guy 32 pitches today and then using him again tomorrow. So, like I said, at this point, it's all about tomorrow beating Guelph, getting yourself into a playoff position. And what a debut by De La Cruz, man. Really impressive.
You'll love to see it. 5 strikeouts. Again, 32 pitches to do it through 2 innings. Not too bad for a team that, I mean, Toronto was really not making it easy on any of our pitchers. Granted, it was a lot of, rough pitch discipline in terms of keeping it in the zone. But this Maple Leafs offense, looking forward to the rest of their weekend. I mean, it's a team that I kind of alluded to. They win the wins come close, and the losses are typically by 10 runs. I mean, they lost to Welland 17-7 less than a week ago. And I think for them, as they kind of look ahead to the rest of their week, you play tomorrow, you play against Welland once again, and I think that's one you got to have circled, especially because they're back on the road with Welland. But then you get most of the week to kind of focus on the one squad. It's Hamilton Sunday. That first game is at home at Bernie Arbor. And then or pardon me, flip that around. Bernie Arbor, it's in Hamilton, but then at home on Wednesday. So 4 games in 5 days. But from a manager's perspective, Brian, does it make it any easier to prepare for the same team, knowing you play them in a back-to-back or 2 games in 3 days?
You know what? That's where you're going to gather as much information as you can, because I mean these are 2 teams, Toronto and Welland. They played each other in the playoffs a couple times over the last 3 years. So you know that you make sure that you're obviously not throwing the same starter both games, and then there's sometimes managers will hold back a certain starter. It doesn't matter if it's a number 1 or a number 2 or a number 3.
Right.
Just a guy that you don't want that team to see during the regular season. Each team plays, they play each team 6 times in a season.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of managers are looking at those 6 games going, I'm going to show you one guy like 3 times because I don't want you to see this guy. If we run into playoffs, that way you haven't seen him and you're going to have to fight through that in a playoff game. Some managers don't worry about that. They just got a set rotation. They're going to throw whoever's turn it is. They don't really care. So, and you know, as I recall, I answered one of your questions. That depends, and this is another situation where you just, you know, you've got to prepare for all those games in a week, and it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm in a situation with my club that's with all these rainouts. We're looking at, you know, a tournament next weekend, and then we've got a doubleheader on the 1st of July and a single game on the 3rd and another one on the 5th. And really all you're doing is looking at your pitchers and lining up your pitching staff. You know, you might throw a bullpen game here and there just to get through the game to make sure that you've got guys. The difference between my club and these clubs, we have pitch counts and are limited by Baseball Ontario how often and how soon we can throw guys. These guys, you know, we talked about it off air when I was with Kitchener a couple years ago. Roop threw Owen Boone in 3 of the 5 games in a best of 5. And he threw, it was a ridiculous number, like 237 pitches in 3 days. It was unbelievable. The guy's an absolute horse. He darn near beat us, too, all 3 games.
Well, that first pitch goes in for a strike on Christian Ortega. Here's a treat for those that stuck around outside of just seeing Jorge de los Cruz have that great relief appearance in his last 2 innings. Here's Ayami Sato, the female 35-year-old, has been making waves all around the IBL. Really cool for the Brantford Red Sox home crowd to see the Toronto Maple Leafs, you got to say, star coming over from Japan, a 5-time World Cup champion and the Japanese women's national baseball program. She's exceptional. Awesome to see her today, and she'll be trying to close this one out against the Red Sox.
Yeah, and this is, you know, make no mistake, this isn't just some publicity ploy. This woman can pitch. She's got a nasty slider. She just showed that. I mean, it breaks. Goodness, it seems like it breaks 4 feet, that slider. She just snaps it off. She can throw it right at the right-handed hitter and bend it in for a strike.
She appeared earlier this season against Brantford. Also closed that one. Allowed only 1 hit. Comfortably finished off that game and that earlier 9-8 win against Brantford for Toronto earlier this year. So again, high leverage opportunity there, and she closed it off well. Not so high leverage today, but later on in the season also had a similar no runs allowed effort in relief. Big swing and a miss for Ortega. There's her first strikeout on the day.
She doesn't throw hard like De Los Cruz or anything like that. Fastball up and in with tail to it, so it looks like a strike, and it just busts the hitter in. No chance to do anything with it, but maybe foul it off, and he couldn't do that and gets a strikeout.
Now, Cassidy Watt back up here today for the 4th time today, and I think the big thing we see here, we've seen a lot of young pitchers today, and then Sato and a couple of these other relievers closer to their high 30s, and that experience, I think, really comes through in their control, the way they release the ball, the way that, you know, certain pitches, even if you miss your spot, you can really see the approach. What they were trying to do and what they execute from the mound is so close. And that's the thing, is some of these, you know, younger pitchers have great potential. If they can coach out some of those mistakes and some of those inconsistencies, then they can be at this high level, but you can really see experience on the mound.
Well, and that's a lot of times on baseball broadcasts, a pitcher versus a thrower. Sato is a pitcher. She locates the ball. She knows exactly what she's doing. In, out, up, down, hard, soft.
Comebacker right at the second base spot. That one is actually going to get by.
That looked like it was right off the end of the bat.
It was a weird placement. That's Zach Lamprey out there now. He subbed in for Spencer Ross earlier in this one. We'll get the bounce by him. I think maybe the final appearance of that weird grass that we've had since the rain earlier. That's one took a weird hop when it hit the dirt.
That had a spin. Like I said, that's why I thought it went off the end of the bat, because it had a weird spin on it. It went dead left or dead right as the second baseman is looking at us. It was headed right for the second baseman and just went phew.
I think next game when we have a weird field condition like this, I'd love to just before the start of the call, maybe go check the field, because there looks like an interesting vertical difference that isn't always there when the grass is more normally tempered. That one just seemed to hit similar to what we saw earlier this week with Bateman's big catch on Sunday. This is Josiah DeVaplin up for the second time today.
And that soft infield, well, when you've got that spin on it, it really digs in. The ball really digs into the infield when it's hard like that, soft like that.
DeVaplin, that one. Well, barrel does stay fair off towards left field. Around comes the runner. Cassidy Watts putting the Jets on. Can he get 3 bags? Out at second, fair at second, does stay safe, and Cassidy Watt will score. Great effort, and I remember you saying earlier this week, Brian, he looks so athletic, so energetic from the catcher spot, and 3 bags there on a double to leg it out as a catcher is great work.
Well, and that was a very, very high IQ defensive play there, because to be honest with you, everybody's looking home, but he's throwing to second base, and the infielder sure looked like he thought they got him, and it was a banger play there to make a play that close. What a great play to get that ball back in at second base. Just really high IQ to the proper base.
So that's DeVaplin now on second base with his first double of the campaign. Andrew Savage, the third baseman turned catcher in this one, up for the 5th time. Big swing, doesn't make proper contact. That'll go down as a strike. Sato 5'5", 145, but does her damage with just the incredible movement that really any Japanese import is known for. That one, even the fans here at Arnold Anderson were showing their support.
That slider just doesn't stop breaking, and when you watch her do her full windup, she does the full leg kick, gets good turn, good crank there, but from the stretch, she's kind of straight at it, and still gets all that motion on the slider there. So it's very interesting to watch how much action she gets. That's what we call mechanically solid, in the fact that when you're snapping it off at the right angle, you get maximum bend to the pitch.
I think it's easy to be fooled by great lateral movement, these fancy sliders. I think every pitcher now, there are so many that have just versatile, volatile sliders when they come and join the IBL. But it's one thing to throw it, like you said. It's another thing to pitch it and really place it well. And Sato seems in great control. I jinx it on that one. She is going to get Savage on the hands, and he'll take the free walk down to first. But to be able to throw that slider and consistently clip the bottom of the zone, it's so hard to do when you got to have that spin rate for such a nasty slider.
See, the amount of bite in it makes it look like a curveball. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Clayton Kershaw and his curveball. Right. He gets so much depth on that pitch. Now Kershaw's a lefty and Sato's a righty, so it's a bit of a stretch to make that comparison. But the bend of the pitch looks very similar in the fact that it just won't stop breaking. A pitch that starts at the letters that, back in the day, Steve Carlton used to throw a curveball. They used to say, if it starts at the belt, leave it alone because it's probably going to bounce.
First strike in there for Sato. Now facing off against Mr. Jeremy Veilleux. He subbed in for Black earlier in this game.
First time we've seen Veilleux in a couple of games.
The 0-1 here from Sato. Oh, and sent foul. Just hits the fence. Getting towards the end stages of this one, I want to take a quick moment to thank our entire team here at the Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube operation here on the broadcast. Finally got our outfield camera back up and working today. Some of the technical snafus were figured out. And the man to thank for that is my man Brandon, our director here today. We want to thank our entire crew as well, Ryan and the rest of our cameramen. Doing an awesome job here live. And, well, Brian, 2 very different baseball games for you. You've seen 2 blowouts, 1 go our way, 1 not. But been still enjoying a nice little evening here. Great cause for tonight's game, and still a lot to talk about. Sato's,
absolutely, yes. And I first of all, I want to agree with you. Our staff, a lot of people don't realize, we get all the glory, but, there's a whole handful of people running around, running wires, connecting, doing sound checks, all the pregame stuff that you don't see. We've got a great crew here that make a great production, and it's getting better and better every week, and we want to thank them for that. Yeah, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing a competitive ball game, but
Here might be the double play, and
that'll
end it.
wow, what a play by Moreno. Oh, my goodness, what a fantastic play. Diving play, knocks it down, quick throw to second, nice turn at second, turn the double play. Heck of a finish to a game that had very little drama to it all the way through. But you know what? Better days ahead for the Brantford Red Sox, and I think tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow they just got to refocus, because tomorrow is a big, big game. Because
massive game.
You know, if you want to make the playoffs, you got to beat the Kitcheners and the Guelphs at the very least of the world. And so, you know, not the greatest thing happening today, but like I said, good takeaways from tonight. De Los Cruz looks fantastic. Looks like they've got a real good arm there out of their bullpen. He gave them 2 solid innings and did it in 32 odd pitches. So, you know, it's very interesting moving forward. And like I say, a couple more bullpen arms to go with these starters. And, you know, you got the makings of a real competitive ball club here.
Well, manager Jeff Lansbury might have a sleepless night tonight, figuring out what he's going to do in terms of pitching, in terms of rotation and bullpen for the next 2 games. You talk about how important Kitchener and Guelph are. To give you a look to the rest of the schedule one more time, tomorrow night on the road against Guelph, that's a 7:30 p.m. start time. That's going to be 1:05 start time in London on Sunday. And then a week from that Sunday, so it's going to be 9 more days till your next Brantford home outing. We've had a lot of home games early in the season. Bit of a lull, bit of a road stint, but it's going to be June 29th. That is Sunday, June 29th. That's going to be a 2 p.m. start time. We're taking on Kitchener. So Guelph tomorrow, Kitchener in 9 days' time. Those are the big teams you need to face off against. If you're Lounsbury, you really want to get that pitching situation figured out. And to wrap it up, Brian, just do you see that 2-game winning streak that ends tonight? Do you think there's still glimmers that can come back the next 3 games?
Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely. There's no reason not to think that. That, like I say, do they look like a team that's ready to beat Welland in a best-of-5 playoff series? You know, that might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Having said that, the Hamiltons, the Guelphs, the Kitcheners, you know, those are teams that they can play with. And, you know, you just got to be consistent. This one got away on them a little bit, but you don't go worst to first at this level. It's a process, and the process has begun. You're seeing better arms. You're seeing deeper lineup. You're seeing better defense. When I was in the league and we were playing Brantford, even if they were in the game, we were still getting that help from them because we'd hit a ground ball and they'd boot it and they'd put a runner on for us and extend the inning. And we had the kind of a team that year with Raul Gonzalez and Elliot Curtis and, you know, a lot of really Andy Leader and Liam Wilson. We had guys like that. We had a power stacked lineup. And so when you booted a ball and you gave us extra outs, we were going to punish you, especially playing in a park like Jack Couch where the ball just flies out of there. Toronto's the same thing. They play in Christie Pitts, which is probably the easiest park in the whole league to hit a home run in. So you just got to get incrementally better every time you go on the field, get a little more continuity as you move on. I like what I'm seeing here tonight. Obviously not the result they wanted, but there's every reason to continue to be optimistic about the season moving forward.
Well, that wraps it up well, and I think we can all agree. If the Brantford Red Sox are currently the bottom of the league in terms of the standings, if they're the quote-unquote worst team in the IBL, we're in a pretty good baseball league because there's a lot of great talent here in Brantford. Great to see the way that the proliferation of talent is really spaced out among the league. That London-Welland matchup is going to be finishing up in a moment. Curious to see how that one ends. And again, 2 more efforts this weekend. Be sure to tune in to other teams. Check out their broadcast. The same way, many of Toronto viewers tonight, if you're watching out on the road, you saw that big win for your team. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Go support those other teams around the IBL. Go check out your Red Sox and their 2-game homestand. But for the entire crew here, as the Brantford Red Sox move to 3-12 on the season, as Toronto will make the jump up to the positive side of 500. They're now 8-7 on the year. We'll move on from my director, Brandon, my lovely partner, Brian Halley, making your second appearance tonight. You'll be back very soon, I hope. And for the entire crew here for the Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube channel, I'm Marshall Crocker, saying good night, have a great weekend. Check out the baseball tomorrow night, and we'll be back here on Sunday, June 29th, and we hope you have a great evening.